We'll ask all of our board members to take their seats. We will also ask you to silence your cell phones if you'd be so kind as to do that. Board members, from just a housekeeping standpoint, in order to engage the microphone that is in front of you, you'll have to push it and keep it pressed the entire time that you are talking. If you lift your finger from it, it will disengage it. So just be mindful of that. This morning, our invocation will be delivered by Dr. C.S. Gordon, who is a very proud pastor of the New Zion Missionary Baptist Church here in the city of New Orleans. He is also the immediate past president of the Louisiana State Baptist Convention, which is an affiliate of the National Baptist Convention, USA Incorporated. Dr. Gordon.
Shall we pray? Eternal God, our Heavenly Father, the Father of our Lord and Savior Jesus the Christ. Eternal Father, as we come this morning to another day that you have granted to us, Father, we come in our humility and sincerity, acknowledging you as the creator of the heaven and earth and the sustainer. Lord, we thank you for Jesus, our Redeemer, who died upon the cross of Calvary, who was buried and rose from the grave, and now who's at the right hand, where he ever liveth to make intercession for us. We thank you for the presence and power of your Holy Spirit. Lord, we acknowledge our weaknesses and our frailties. We come asking for your forgiveness for our sins. Now, Lord, we thank you for this gathering of the Board of Supervisors of Southern University here in this state of Louisiana. We thank you for the history of this great institution. We thank you for those who have passed on into eternity, who have done so much sacrifice. We thank you for those who have picked up the torch and continue on even unto this hour. We pray your blessings upon the president, the entire administration, and for all of the campuses and staff, students and faculty. Lord, we pray for this Board of Supervisors now as we come together. Lord, bless them with the wisdom and knowledge that they need to carry on the work of this great institution. Lord, bless us all as we share here today, we pray. And we pray that when this business has been concluded, that it would be to your glory and honor and for the uplifting of mankind upon this earth. Oh, yes. Lord, we thank you and we praise you. We ask it all in the name of your Son, Jesus the Christ, in accordance with your holy and righteous will. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Dr. Gordon. I failed to mention he's also a very proud graduate of Southern University at New Orleans. And Dr. Renee is presenting him with the certificate for his presentation this morning. We'll now ask Board Member Amity to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Dr. Belton, roll call.
Good morning. Roll call. Attorney Rutledge.
Here.
Attorney Shorty.
Here.
Attorney Armady.
Here.
Mr. Bartholomew. Here. Dr. Davis. Present. Mr. Fondell. Here. Mr. Gilliam. Here. Mr. Hilliard. Here. Mr. Lawson. Certainly. Ms. Reeves. Here. Mrs. Smith. Present. Dr. Tarver. Here. Mr. Taylor Jarrell. Here. Reverend Tolbert. Present. Dr. Whitfield. Present. Ms. Williams. You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Belton. We go now to item 5, election of board officers. Of course, we will elect the chairman first and then the vice chairman thereafter, and we will proceed in the following manner. The floor will be open for nominations. Once all nominations have been made, the chair will entertain a motion to close those nominations. The nominations do not require a second. However, the motion to close the nominations do. Once all nominations have been made, Dr. Belton will call the roll, and each member will state the name of the individual whom they wish to elect as chair. Are there any questions about how we will proceed? Any questions? All right. Chair will open up the floor for nominations. We recognize Dr. Tarver.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it is my honor to be able to nominate a gentleman who I believe's leadership is very much needed as we continue on the great challenges that we have before us. And there are some rather difficult ones ahead, which is going to require the brand of leadership and the experience to be able to lead us and to work with us as a community of interest on behalf of our great university system. The person I wish to nominate at this time, Mr. Chairman, is Mr. Edwin Shorty, New Orleans.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to close the nominations. It's been moved by Ms. Williams. Is there a second? There's a second by Ms. Reeves. Is there any objections to the nominations being closed? Hearing none, the nominations are closed. The chair will entertain a motion for the election of Mr. Edwin Shorty as our next chairman by acclamation. Is there any objection to that? Is there any objection? Hearing none, congratulations, Mr. Shorty.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All right, we'll proceed now in a like manner for the election of our vice chairman. We shall open the floor for nominations, and the chair will recognize Mr. Gillum.
Mr. Chairman, I rise to recognize a gentleman who has been my seatmate for a couple of years. He's been diligent and dutiful in his duties, and I'm thinking that it's time to move him to the front table. I'm honored and privileged to recommend for, or offer for vice chairman, my illustrious seatmate, Dr. Rainey Whitfield.
All right, are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to close the nominations. It's been moved by Mr. Lawson, seconded by Ms. Williams. Is there any objection to closing the nominations? Any objection to the election of Dr. Ronnie Whitfield as vice chairman by acclamation? Any objections? Hearing none, it is so ordered. Congratulations, Dr. Whitfield. We'll now recognize our chairman-elect for brief comments. Mr. Shorty. Brief. We got a full agenda and we're competing with a lot of activities, and so very brief.
Very briefly, I would like to thank you all for your support.
Let me correct that. Mr. Chairman-elect, you take as much time as you like, sir. All right.
Thank you, sir. I want to thank you all for your support. It is an honor and a privilege to serve with each one of you all. It is definitely a daunting task that we have before us, and one that I feel that we can all get through together. It is definitely an honor to serve with so many past chairmen, some who I now consider close friends. But two of you I would like to single out. Dr. Tarver, your leadership and the way that you perform every day is something to aspire to. And I thank you for being the man that you are, sir. I've looked up to you for a long time, and it is definitely an honor and a privilege to serve on this board with you. And I would also like to thank our current chairman for the way that he has performed as chairman, the friendship and the insight that he has shown me through my time on the board. And I really appreciate him for everything he's done, as I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Chairman-elect, now we recognize the vice chairman-elect, Dr. Whitfield.
Everyone, I'm overwhelmed, almost emotional. I lost my father in August, and this is something that I know he would be very excited about. So I just want to thank you all for the opportunity. I plan on continuing to work hard. Mr. Chairman, you set the bar very high, and Shorty and I have some work to do. Also like to say special thanks to Dr. Tarver, who a very good friend of my father's and has been a mentor to me on this board. And Raymond Fondell. Fondell, you have harassed me since I've been on this board, made sure that I did what I was supposed to do and where I was supposed to be, and he's someone I've gone to on many occasions to get information and help. So I just appreciate you all. Thank you for this opportunity to serve, and go Jags.
All right, congratulations to both of you. I want to thank the board for speaking with one voice today. That's very important. We've got some very important decisions to make in the days and weeks and months ahead, and I hope that we will follow this leadership and continue to speak with one voice and act in the best interests of our system that has been entrusted to each of us. We'll go now to item 6, the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Dr. Whitfield. Is there a second? Second. It's been seconded by Ms. Reeves. Is there any objection to the adoption of today's agenda? Hearing none. What change? I apologize. I'd like to request the adoption of today's agenda with one slight change. There's a mistake in the under item L, personnel requests, item L10, and the salary should have been 150 instead of 139. 150 instead of 139. With that slight correction, can I still, who made the motion? Okay, who second? Who was? Dr. Whitfield made the motion. You okay with that change? Yep. Both of you? Okay. Is there any objection to the adoption of the agenda as amended? Hearing none, the agenda stands adopted. We'll go now to item 7, public comments. Are there any public comments regarding today's agenda from anybody here in the audience? Staff, are there any comments online that we've received? Ms. Taylor-Jarrell, are there any comments online that we received? Any comments from anybody in the audience? Seeing none, we'll go now to item 8. This is something we started in my first year as chairman, and Mr. Chairman-elect, I hope that you will consider continuing it to invite the assistant president from Grambling State University, our sister institution. We want to make the point that while tomorrow we will be competitors and we know Southern will win, the remaining 365, 4 days of the year, we're together. And our destinies are inextricably intertwined in our mission to equip and empower and educate young men and women from across the globe to go out and be competitive in a global marketplace. And so I hear just absolute great things from the work that President Gallo is doing at Grambling, and so it gives me great pleasure to again welcome him to our meeting this morning. President Gallo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Chairman-elect, Vice Chair-elect, all the board. My good friend, Dr. Belton, it's certainly been a great pleasure serving with you. And as you make plans to journey back up to North Louisiana, we certainly, I want you to know how much I appreciate your mentorship and your friendship and your brotherhood throughout the time that we've served together. So again, thank you for that. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you inviting me again. I keep inviting me. People might start talking.
Let them talk.
But as you so eloquently said, we're stronger together, and certainly the work that we have to do is much bigger than our two institutions. I think there are a lot of people who are counting on us getting it right, and so whether you were founded in 1880 or 1901, the mission is still the same, and that is to teach and train the next generation of leaders. And as I've come here today, and I certainly don't want to not introduce my team who's
Please
with me.
do.
Jasmine Cherry, my Chief of Staff, and Darian Williams, Deputy Chief of Staff. Chief Operating Officer Pena Moses, Vice President of Advancement Melanie Jones.
Are they here with you?
They-
Mr.
they are
President?
here.
Will they stand, please, so we can, very good.
Last but certainly not least, one who's very familiar to this group, our inaugural Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics at Granite State University, Dr. Trevion Scott. I wanted them to accompany me this morning. I mean, you as the only HBCU system in this country is important. It is something that, again, I think is the model for all of our institutions, and to see you all doing this great work on behalf of the students across the Southern University system is something that we're all pulling for Southern University, because a strong Southern University certainly impacts a strong Grambling State University and other HBCUs all across the country. I believe we've got visiting with us this morning the president from Tougaloo, President Walters. Again, we are a very small community of people who are all pulling for one another. And although we may compete tomorrow, and I certainly want to thank you for inviting Dr. Gordon to do the prayer today. I think the last meeting I came to, the prayer was a little slanted, and actually, it brought God into the outcome of the game. So, certainly there was no way it could have gone any other way. But since he didn't, we still stand a chance on tomorrow. So again, I certainly appreciate the relationship that we have, and appreciate the courtesy of the invitation to come again today. I know you all have a lot of important business to carry out today, and so again, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for the opportunity to come before you today.
Thank you for being here. Thank your team for being here. And we want to recognize Dr. Belton for a few brief comments. President Gallo. You have to hold it. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I just wanted to just take a moment to as well acknowledge President Gallo for his service to Grambling State University. I've known President Gallo long before he became president, an individual who I admired greatly and actually worked with in his former role. But since he has assumed the reins of leadership, I could tell you that his leadership is felt across the HBCU community. I keep trying to say Rick. But
as you should. Yes, sir.
But Rick provides exceptional leadership in this context as we engage with other colleagues on the Council of Presidents and Chancellors in keeping with our engagement with the conference, and as a result, I think our conference is stronger and is evolving as in terms of having a national presence and prominence. And so I just want to again express my appreciation for the opportunity to work with you, and certainly as your future today shines light on Grambling State University in a very bright way. I anticipate that your tenure will continue to evolve in such a way that would not only benefit Grambling State University, but HBCUs across this country. So thank you for your service, Ray.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. I think I have some board members. If you'll just bear with us for a moment, President Gallo. Dr. Whitfield?
Very briefly, spoke with Rick. Rick and I do a celebratory pick every year. He's a Kappa and he's in the black and gold. He's confused. He's not quite sure. But he said something to me
Noobs
that
look good in any color.
exactly. That's how you do it, Rick. All right. My bad, y'all. But no, seriously, he said something. I asked him. I said, "Well, how's Trevion doing?" He said, "He's doing so well, and he was prepared so well for this challenge." And that's a testimony to Coach Banks' staff. Yes. Trevion, we're very proud of you, man. Do great things there, except on the day that you play us. That's the only time. We don't want you to be too successful, but we appreciate and love you, bro. Thank you.
All right. Any other board members? President Gallo, did you say that the president of Tougaloo was here with us this morning?
Yes, sir, Mr.
He's at the
Chairman.
meeting? Would you please stand? Would like to? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Thank you. Yes, if you'd like to have a word, please.
Yeah, it's actually a she.
I apologize. I stand corrected.
It's okay. Good morning, everyone. As a daughter of the system, it brings me great honor to be here with all of you today. I was invited by my friend, Chancellor Pierre. We're trying to work on this partnership, trying to get more Tougaloo College students into your law school. And what an exciting time to do that. I'm coming from an institution that's 152 years old. 44% of the African Americans who are African Americans in Mississippi graduated from Tougaloo. They're lawyers. And 33% of the medical doctors, the African American doctors in the state of Mississippi, graduated from Tougaloo. So I think that some of those students should matriculate right here in the state of Louisiana, where I have hailed from. I'm excited to be here this morning and to congratulate you to this wonderful president. I've known him for many, many years, way back when I was at Delgado Community College, and to watch the work that you do is so important, and the leadership that you have brought to this great system. It's my honor, my pleasure to be here today, and I want to congratulate all of you. It's very difficult for me to pick a winner. My husband's entire family went to Grambling. My entire family went to Southern. So I'm standing in the middle saying, I'm from Tougaloo.
Well, President Walters, before you go, I apologize for assuming it was a he as opposed to a
Look,
she.
you know, I'm so used to it.
no,
It's
I
fine.
apologize.
It's fine.
But thank you for being here. I'm told that you're a graduate of Southern University at New Orleans.
Yes, sir.
So very happy to have you. I want you to know that several years ago, Dr. Belton and I believe Al Harrell, were invited to Bentonville, Arkansas, by a collaborative hosted by Walmart for HBCUs. And that was, I think, one of your vice presidents who was there from Tougaloo College, and I just want you to know that you guys were very well represented. I forget her name at the moment.
Well, listen, I thank you so much. Tougaloo is a small, small institution, but as UNCF says, we're punching above our weight. And with colleges like this sending us great leaders, we hire people from all over the country, but most especially Louisiana.
Very good.
And so thank you for what you do. We constantly look to you for greatness.
Thank you. We recognize Dr. Belton.
It's really a pleasure seeing you with us today. Just one question. What side of the stadium are you sitting on?
I'll turn that over to my attorney, right?
Very smart. Thank you.
It's about you, and we really look forward to working with Tougaloo in the future. Really pleased to see you.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great day.
Thank you, President Walters. Before we go to our special presentations, and members, I want you to bear with me because we'll have a lot of important people moving in and out of the room. As you know, today is a busy day, but we certainly want to recognize the congressman from the 2nd Congressional District of Louisiana, Congressman Troy Carter. You'll come and have a word, Congressman.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to New Orleans. Welcome back. First of all, let me give my most sincere appreciation for the great work that the Southern University system does for our people, for our community, for our state. I could not be more proud of the incredible work that you all do as a board, as an academic institution, as a place that have given so many successful leaders their start. And this Bayou Classic weekend is an opportunity for us to come together and enjoy a great football game, but it's also a great opportunity for us to fellowship, to reunion, to talk about all that is good and right about a strong academic environment. As you know, we are fighting in Washington to get additional funds for HBCUs, which is at the hallmark of what we're doing with Build Back Better. Congratulations to the newly elected chairman, Edwin Shorty. A hearty congratulations to the outstanding outgoing chairman, Des Moines Rutledge, who's done an incredible job. Happy to be here. Continue with your work, and we're here to support you. God bless.
Thank you, Congressman. Board Member Lawson.
I think yet another good Kappa man, by the way. I want Ronnie to know that.
All right. We're very happy to have a former distinguished chairman of our board and who also serves on the Board of Regents, Mr. Darren Meir. We've got two former distinguished vice chairman, Donald Ray Henry, and Mr. Calvin Braxton, who is here on the side here. I've asked, we'll hear from Senator Fields in a minute, a little bit later on in the program today. And I've asked staff and board members, if you see some elected officials come in that I don't see or that staff does not recognize, we want to make certain that we recognize everybody. So now we will go to our special presentations, our Above and Beyond Award. Dr. Ammons.
Mr. Chairman, if we could, right before we do that.
Yes, certainly.
Take a moment of personal privilege to start out these special presentations. Sir, in recognition of your service and your outstanding job as our chairman and the work that you do every day, we would like to present you with this special presentation, sir.
Thank you. I must confess that I threatened staff that I wanted no videos, no anything. I wanted this transition to be very smooth and quick, but I appreciate the acknowledgement. And I had planned at the January meeting just to make some final remarks before handing over the gavel. I appreciate each of you because you made me a better person, a better chairman, in more ways than you know. And the last 3 years I've enjoyed it tremendously, and I'm looking forward to going to wherever the chairman assigns me and to get back into the mode of fellowship. So thank you. I appreciate the acknowledgement. We'll now go to, again, our Above and Beyond Award. Dr. Ammons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Officers of the board and our newly elected.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Also to members of the board and to our newly elected chair and vice chair, I want to thank you for the opportunity this morning to recognize an employee at the institution who is doing outstanding work. And I'm going to ask our Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management, Dr. Adrielle Hilton, to come and make the presentation.
Good morning. Good morning. Chair Rutledge, newly elected Chair Shorty, members of the Board of Supervisors, President and Chancellor Belton, Chancellor Ammons, colleagues and friends. This morning, I've been given the honor of presenting this month's Southern University Above and Beyond Award that was established to help inspire, motivate, and honor a current Southern University employee. This month, I am proud to present the Above and Beyond Award to Mr. Jamal K. Williams, Administrative Assistant to the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management at Southern University at New Orleans. Some of the university's top leaders noted the following. The reason we chose Jamal for the Above and Beyond Award is because this entire semester, he has worked vigorously to help us have a successful school year. We feel Jamal is deserving of this award because even when he is juggling being a full-time graduate student, a full-time employee, and sometimes even stepping in as a quasi-advisor, He is able to show patience and still do an awesome job. He is enthusiastic toward the students, and it shows in his actions, words of wisdom and attributes. We sincerely thank him for all of his help. And those students were Madam President, SGA, Amber Fauché, the 62nd Miss Southern University at New Orleans, Jessica Thomas, and our SGA President, Mr. Ronnie Dyer, SGA Vice President, Mr. Ronnie Dyer. Jamal, a New Orleans native, was raised in the historic African-American subdivision of Pontchartrain Park, where the SUNO campus is located. Jamal graduated with a bachelor's in public administration with a 3.6 grade point average. Before serving as the 2020-21 student body president, he served in other supportive roles at the university as a volunteer tutor for his fellow Knights, supporting the Office of Admissions and Recruitment by giving campus tours, assisting and leading campus beautification projects. After being encouraged by his peers, he ran and was elected as class senator and vice president for the Public Administration Club. The following year, he was elected Student Government Association vice president. While serving as student body president at SUNO, he also served as vice president for the State of Louisiana's Council for Student Body Presidents. Without taking a semester off after graduating from SUNO this past May, Jamal enrolled and was accepted into Louisiana State University's MPA program, where he's continuing his studies. Jamal is an avid reader, and one of his favorite books is by Dr. Carter G. Woodson, The Miseducation of the Negro. Jamal has said, and I again quote, Dr. Woodson insists that it's not enough to get an education. Still, our institutions, our storied HBCUs, have the responsibility to equip students professionally, socially, and morally for the future. Most of all, put them in a position to earn a well-desired career or enter graduate school prepared. Jamal not only believes this statement, but puts it into action by mentoring several students and helping them with charting out their career paths. Jamal has said he believes we at SUNO and other state-funded schools won't have to concentrate so much on the funding formula when we are producing the professionals who will create these formulas. These professionals will not only give back in monetary value, but they will give back opportunities that were given to them and by paying it forward. Jamal, I hereby present the Above and Beyond Award to you, a most deserving candidate. Congratulations.
Is there a...
Yes, sir, here it is.
Okay. Mr. Williams, good morning and congratulations to you on behalf of Dr. Ammons, Dr. Belton, our system, and our board. We'd like to present you with this plaque which commemorates and appreciatively acknowledges in you going above and beyond, and there's also a certificate, and we congratulate you this morning.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Great job.
All right.
That's what he's showing. Yes.
We'll have a brief photo. You want to? Thank you again, and congratulations to our Above and Beyond Award recipient. I see Ms. Dottie Belletto with NOCA, who is our management firm for the Bayou Classic and has been for some time. Ms. Tari Bradford, who is with us. Also very happy to have, we're also very happy to have Mr. Donald Dunbar who is not only a former SGA president on the Baton Rouge campus, a former member of our board, but he is the personal assistant to the governor of the state of Louisiana. You rarely see the governor without Donald. And so we congratulate him as well. See our athletic director back there who guarantees the victory tomorrow, Mr. Roman Bank. Put the thumbs up. Is that right? All right, thank you. We go now to item B. She Can McBride Sisters check presentation to the Southern University Agriculture Research and Extension Center and the College of Agriculture, Family, and Consumer Sciences. Dr. McMeans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board members, colleagues, guests, this is indeed historical for me in my 2 years being Chancellor of the Ag Center to have our first presentation of a check. Because at the end of the day, we look at how we can support our students and faculty in advancing the mission of the university. I want to personally thank the McBride sisters. I really don't have to even tell you who they are because my mother, who's down in Miami for the holidays, she said, "Oh, I got my magic on." I said, "I don't know what that means, Mom." And she said, my McBride sisters wine." So we're really excited about that. If you've been watching any type of media lately, you've known that these two sisters have really stormed the wine industry. They've done an outstanding job, and their product represents them. But one of the things that I love about it is that they're promoting minority businesses, and they're advocating for African-American females to go into those, and not only initiate these businesses, but sustainability of these businesses. So I want to also thank, we have Ms. Agnes Obama, who is going to come and speak to us after Dr. Marshall. But I want to thank Dr. Marshall for really being the person behind developing and maturing this relationship with the McBride sisters. Of course, they couldn't be here with us, and if you guys know anything, I'm just assuming because I'm a horticulturalist, that this is wine season and harvesting and some other things are going on. And so we want to make sure they make all the money they can make so they can give back to Southern. And so we're excited about that. And the other thing, I want to recognize Mr. Al Harrell. And the reason I'm recognizing Mr. Al Harrell, because he was the person that came to me and said, the Ag Center needs someone to be an advancement and speak on behalf of the Ag Center and the College of Ag as it relates to philanthropy and fundraising. And he was the person that, and the board, of course, approved it, allowed me to bring in Mr. Robert Easley, who has done an outstanding job. When I say we have increased our funds by 400%, you look at 400%, but you look at that number and what have you. We've been doing a great job in that area, and so I want to thank Mr. Easley for doing that. So I want to bring Dr. Marshall forward to continue in this discussion and also introduce our speaker and the check presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. McMeans. Chairman Rutledge, newly elected Chairman Shorty, President Belton, and honorable board members. Happy Bayou Classic to everyone. And as we say within the College of Agriculture, what we do is we grow jags. The Southern University Agriculture Research and Extension Center and the College of Agriculture, Family, and Consumer Sciences was afforded the opportunity to be a recipient of the Yes, She Can Fund. The funds provided will be utilized for students and faculty within the Ag Center and the college to gain invaluable experiential learning experiences, as well as professional development in the fields of viticulture, which is the cultivation of grapevines grown for producing wine, and enology, which is the study of wine and winemaking. This gift is one of the largest private charitable gifts directed to the college by way of Southern University alum. All of this is in support of increasing the workforce of minorities professionals entering into the wine producing industry. I must acknowledge the Plant and Soil Sciences team who came together and wowed her when she visited the Southern University Ag Center and some of our grapevines. I have the pleasure and the honor of introducing to you Ms. Agnes Uboma, a Southern University alum first, and also the Chief Impact Officer for McBride Sisters Collections Wines. Ms. Obama?
Thank you. Good morning. So I wrote something, but I think I'm going to veer off course this morning. It is an honor and a blessing to be back here in the state of Louisiana. I remember when I graduated twice from Southern University, asking God to allow me to be a blessing to others, right? So I didn't ask for riches. I didn't ask for a big house. I asked that He would bless my career so that I would be able to be a blessing to others. Excuse me. So McBride Sisters Collection, you all know them better as Black Girl Magic, the #1 Black-owned wine company in America. We're currently vetting it with UC Berkeley Labs to find out if we're the #1 Black-owned wine company in the world. They started, Robin and Andrea McBride started the She Can Fund in 2019. In 2019, they granted monies to women to advance their careers and/or education in the wine industry. In 2020, they changed course. That's when they called me. They changed course to develop a fund to help support and scale the businesses for Black-owned business owners, Black women-owned business owners in the United States by providing $10,000 in cash grants. We gave over $300,000 out to 30 Black women-owned businesses and was able to provide in less than 1 year over $3 million in cash and program services directed by a $2 million grant that we received from Facebook. So with that wasn't enough, right? We decided that we wanted to do a little bit more. A lot of people began talking about HBCUs and giving back. The sisters came to me and said, hey, you've always been proud to be a Jaguar. I live in San Francisco, and I tell you, some of you already know this, it's very easy and convenient to be Black when you're in a room filled with Black people. It becomes a little bit more challenging as you start making more money. Those private sessions become a little bit more tense, and people ask you to sell a little bit of your culture, a little bit more and more and more each day. The sisters realized that within me sharing within our friendship about some of my experiences working in corporate America in San Francisco Bay Area, they came and they said, we want to do something for HBCUs. So if we're going to do something for HBCUs, we're going to start with Southern University. So I stand before you. The sisters decided to donate or give, or I like to say invest, $50,000 to the Southern University Agricultural Center. I'm looking at Chancellor McMeans. You mean a lot to us, whether you know it or not. Oftentimes, you know, just being a woman in an industry or industries where it's male-dominated, we're overlooked as women, Black or white. We're overlooked as women. And he's been very clear that it's important to give Dr. Marshall the opportunity to stand before audiences and to steward in this gift. Dr. Marshall, we love you very much. I was elated to go back to the sisters and say, yeah, she's Black, she's a scientist, and she's together. So we love that. We plan to donate more or invest more. The overall goal for McBride Sisters She Can Fund as it relates to viticulture is to create a system between Southern University, North Carolina A&T, and FAMU, and to help merge Black commerce with Black intelligentsia for the sum total of Black excellence. You can't be great without finances. That's a real thing. And they've seemed to do that well. You all will be very pleased to hear their numbers as we do contribute more in 2022. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. There's one burning question that Myron Lawson asked me to ask. Did you bring any samples?
Well, I need to talk to the elected officials in the room. Because but we will be providing supplies.
Great.
We will,
Great.
especially
Thank
for you.
Thank you.
He knows, Mr. Chair.
Dr. Davis, and then we'll recognize you, Mr. Lawson.
Yes, thank you very much. Great presentation and congratulations. Let me say, you didn't bring any, but a little birdie told me that you were gonna give $50,000 to the Ag Center.
Yes, sir.
So I went out and bought 3 bottles of your wine. In the Baker area, I bought a Chardonnay, which is my wife and our favorite, and then I also bought a blend. Yes, I haven't tried it yet, but let me tell you, people. As I started making wine at 14, and kind of a wine connoisseur. 14. I started growing wine. Okay, I don't want to hold the check up, but anyway. I will be promoting your wine to my son, who is a wine investor in Houston, Texas. He's for the Houston Rodeo. He's a wine tasting guy. He's a wine guy. He's the MD. He's a wine guy, and he also does wine for the Houston Chronicle. He's one of the analysts. So, doctor, you buy something too. So I want to put that commercial in. So the stuff is good. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Dr. Dave, thank you. Thank you. We want to recognize the chairman of the Louisiana Legislative Black Caucus, Representative Ted James. We also want to recognize the president of our 1880 Society, Ms. Tanya Moore, who is also, I believe, Director of Economic and Community Initiatives with Oshner. We appreciate your presence here this morning. Colleagues, I want you to hear this. You will recall, we have Mr. Mark Malvo. Mark, raise your hand. You will recall last year, he and his wife, Dawn, both of whom are graduates of Southern University, pledged a $1 million gift to Southern University, which was originally to be paid over a period of 5 years. I'm pleased to report today that the $1 million gift was paid over 6 months. And we want to thank you for your commitment. We want to thank you for and your wife for your commitment to Southern University, and people like Mark Malvo and Don Malvo, and people like Delcy and Jackie and Pat and others who work so very hard on behalf of this institution are going to be very important when we consider this master plan and how we're going to implement it. Every dime, every nickel, every $1 million gift, all of them are going to be important if we're going to realize that goal. So we want to thank you and appreciatively and publicly acknowledge your commitment to Southern University. Thank you. We go now to item C. I recognize it. We go now to item C, Diego. I apologize if I mispronounced that. Learning Skills for Life and Entrepreneurship Partnership with SUSLA. Chancellor Pierre?
Yes, good morning, Chairman Rutledge, and good morning, Chairman-elect Shorty. This morning I have the pleasure of bringing to you Miss Monica Hawkins, who has been a very important agent, I will say, for the Southern University system, and who has deep roots in Louisiana. And she has brought to us opportunities with Diageo, the largest spirits company in the world. And so, Ms. Hawkins.
Good morning. My maiden name is Poulard. My father hails from Crowley. My mother hails from Shreveport. They met here at Southern University. My uncle, Grady Poulard, was student body president. My aunt, all her children came here. My uncle Freddie played in the band. The list is long. It is an honor in their memory to be standing here with you today. There was a story that took place about a year ago, almost to the date. 3 black executives walked into the boardroom when they heard that Diageo Global was going to contribute $100 million to the recovery of the world during COVID. And they walked in and said, we'll take $20 million of that for black people. You don't see that kind of courage and intentionality every day. But with that, they made a commitment across 25 HBCUs of $10 million. Who was not on the list? Southern University. So we raised our hand and said, what can we do? They said, well, we have a 30,000 individual commitment to train bartenders and hospitality agents to diversify the field. Southern University is the recipient today of $200,000 toward Learning Skills for Life. And that will be across the system, including a student assessment, so they can get a personal playbook on what their aspirations might be for the future. That is the beginning. It is the tip of the iceberg. On behalf of Dr. Danielle Robinson, who is the head of corporate relations, I bring you greetings, and the VP of procurement, Marcia Haywood, and the director of strategy and technology, Malcolm Eldridge. We give through Chancellor Pierre's strong ambassadorship, and I do mean strong. It is an honor to serve this system, this highly esteemed board, and we're here to do all we can for the upbuilding of the future. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Whitfield.
Before you sit down, I did, and Dr. Davis let you know, I did request spirits for the entire board. So she said she would take care of that for us, off the record.
Mr. Lawson.
Dr. Talbot said that a lot of folk on this board need some spirit. Put words in about that. And I wanted to correct the chair when he talking about spirits. You know, I am a deacon in my church. You be careful what you say around here. You know, you believe that wherever you find 4 of my deacons, you always find the 5th.
May I sit down now?
I'm not going to respond to that. Thank you very much for your presentation today and your support of the institution. And we also thank Chancellors Pierre and McMeans for their advocacy on behalf of the institution. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. We want to recognize Mr. Tony Heidelberg, who's Vice President at Premier Gaming Group. Did you bring a check, Mr. Heidelberg?
I will be so.
Okay, good. Thank you for being here. We go now to item D, Sons and Daughters Special Visionary Award. Carlton Jones, I believe, will be giving the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, the board. I'm actually here on behalf of Dr. Diola Bagayoko, who is on travels right now to Mali. And we wish him safe travels and passage. But I'm here on behalf of the Special Teams Projects Fund, and we're here to give an honorary award to Mr. Raymond Fondale from the board. And the award reads, "2021 Visionary Award to the Honorable Raymond Fondale Jr., Southern University System Board of Supervisors, for his vision and commitment to Jaguar Nation students, faculty, and District 3. In the Native American culture, the eagle symbolizes freedom, strength, honesty, wisdom, and power. The feathers of eagles are Native American symbols of respect and honor. The award is presented to Raymond Fondale Jr. for his vision, dedication, and commitment to Southern University. His personal accomplishments are well documented and are evidence that he fully embraces Proverbs 29:18. This award is sacred, and we believe that it will be received by him as our genuine expression of our appreciation. To the Honorable Raymond Fundell Jr., you are a motivating force. You are one who works hard at doing the work worth doing and devising creative ways to ensure students reach their highest potential while attending Southern University System campuses, as well as careers after they graduate. You are a visionary who has and will continue to make a difference honestly and with personal power and dedication to purpose. What we do for SU. Dr. Diolo Bagayoko, Chief Executive Officer of Sons and Daughters Special Forces Team. And also today we have some members with us today this morning. I don't know if they wanted to make any special words, but we have an award now. It's really heavy, so yeah, I don't know how much you can hold it. Congratulations, Mr. Fundell.
We again congratulate our colleague, Mr. Fundell, well-deserved. We want to welcome Senator Ed Price, a good Grambling Knight, who joined us this morning. Welcome, Senator Price. Appreciate all your assistance on our behalf. Yes, sir.
Senator Price came all the way up the interstate to get beat like that. I don't know why he did, but thank you. That's my senator.
Okay, now we go quickly now to item E, Estrada Education Network presentation to Southern University at New Orleans. Dr. Ammons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We actually have three presentations this morning, E, F, and G. And I'm going to ask Dr. Kim Rugan, our Vice Chancellor for Institutional Advancement, to come and make the presentations.
Good morning, Chairman Rutledge, newly elected Shorty, and President Belton. I have three check presentations to give to Dr. Ammons on behalf of Strata Education Network, CMC Corporate Solutions, and Sarah Kahn of Beaumont, Texas. Strata established a long-term HBCU initiative involving HBCUs through a capital investment of $25 million in a Board of Trustee-led grant. This first-of-a-kind gift comprises three compartments: leadership, development, scholarship, and internship support. On September 22nd, 2021, Strata approved a grant of $478,000 to Southern University at New Orleans, along with 26 other HBCUs across the country. The Strata HBCU initiative focuses on investment in the next generation of leaders. This nationwide program will provide leadership development, academic support, and critical social engagement, resulting in positive post-secondary learning opportunities that lead to meaningful career pathways for Strata scholars. Students will be chosen based on the following criteria: must be a part of the institution's Presidential Honors Scholar Program, maintain a 3.3 GPA or greater GPA, willingness to engage with Strata and its system of record, participate in leadership development opportunities annually and regionally, participate in internships and other work-based learning opportunities, and share testimonials and experiences. Students will receive $7,000 per year for 4 years for scholarships, $1,200 for 3 years for internships, and $1,200 per year for leadership development. So Dr. Ammons, I'd like to present you with this check, $478,000 from Estrada. CMC Corporate Solutions was formed in 1978 and specialized in maintenance, retrofit repairs, and service of all types of heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. Southern University at New Orleans has been a longtime client of the organization. This $10,000 presentation of this check from CMC will be deposited in the university scholarship fund and used to fill the gap in funding for students who have challenges paying for a degree. Hopefully, this is the beginning of many more deposits CMC will make to feed into the lives of our students. Mr. John Edwards, a member of the senior management team at CMC and a dear friend of SUNO, would like to present this token on behalf of his entire management team.
Good morning, Board. My name is John Edwards. I'm a Vice President of CMC Corporate Solutions. On behalf of the employees of CMC, we're honored to provide an incubator for an environment that's conducive to learning throughout the Southern system, Southern Baton Rouge and Southern New Orleans. In addition to $10,000 the investment today to SUNO New Orleans, we're also matching that same investment for the Southern University Baton Rouge campus that I'll give to Mr. Al Harrell, if he's available in the room today. So on behalf of CMC Corporate Solutions, we are honored to partner with Southern University for the investment of the future leaders of our world. Thank you.
Thank you.
The final check is from Sarah Kahn of Beaumont, Texas, who unfortunately could not be with us this morning. She heard about the university's desire to bring back its athletic programs. She was eager to assist with the rebuilding efforts. She asked what was our immediate need, and at the time, it is renovating the castle. And at this time, we needed scoreboards, time clocks, and a scorer's table. Ms. Kahn graciously dug in her pocket and told us to secure the pricing quotes. She agreed to pay the full $25,000 price quote for the needed items. Thank you so much. And this is Dr. Amlin, $25,000. Thank you.
Okay. Gauge it.
You can see we take time.
All right, I think that concludes our presentations this morning. We want to thank each of those who came and participated, but more particularly made contributions. We're very happy to have with us the Chancellor of the Baton Rouge Community College, Chancellor Willie Smith, in the back. Thank you for being with us this morning. Okay, we'll go now to our action items. 10A, approval of minutes of the October 22nd, 2021 SU Board of Supervisors meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Dr. Whitfield and seconded by Mr. Bartholomew. Is there any objection to the adoption, to the approval of the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes stand approved. All right, we'll go now to action item B, request approval of the SUBR Facilities Master Plan. Dr. Belton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the board, you may recall that the strategic plan for Southern University Baton Rouge, Imagine 20,000, was envisioned in such a way as to attract more than 20,000 students to our campus by 2030. And there were three major strategies that we embraced in order to do so. One was to take a hard look, a very critical look at our academic inventory and shape it such that the programs to which the university would offer will be so viable as to attract students to the university. The second was to transform the physical plant of the Southern University Baton Rouge campus such that it's appealing, inviting, and conducive to learning. Therein, a strategic initiative to attract students to the campus. And thirdly, the last was to assume our responsibility in terms of shaping our public agenda and engaging with the community. This master plan then specifically responds to that second pillar, where we have attempted to shape a roadmap that ultimately will transform the university. In accordance with that, we have asked the Southern University Foundation to bring leadership to this task. And under the leadership of the CEO, Alfred Harrell, we are very much pleased with that outcome. And so I would like to invite Al Harrell to the podium where he could elaborate even more so on the product that we are asking you to consider this morning.
All right, good morning. First, Dr. Belton, Chairman Rutledge, Chairman-elect Shorty, members of the board. About 20 months ago, Dr. Belton asked the foundation to partner with the university to onboard the development of a strategic campus master plan for the Baton Rouge landmass. We knew we had to take a progressive approach because of the unique variables that the Baton Rouge landmass presented to us. 3 campuses on one landmass, a community surrounding the campus that was struggling, and also a crumbling infrastructure to some regard. So we thought it was important to engage a team of not only architects in taking a traditional approach, but planners to look at a comprehensive plan on how we can connect programming with infrastructure and facilities. To design from the inside out was our strategy. So over the course of 20 months, we met with faculty, staff, students, community leaders to look at bringing to you a master plan that put us in a competitive advantage with our like institutions throughout the country. Equally important, we wanted to connect the community that surrounded the Baton Rouge campus with all of the resources that an academic institution can provide to that community. So we assembled a team with a group from Baton Rouge called the Center for Planning and Excellence. And in front of you today, you have a master plan that is teed up the largest capital campaign that any historically black institution would take on, to the tune of $800 million in projects. Today, I'd like to introduce Camille Manning-Broom, who is the CEO of CPEX, the Center for Planning and Excellence, and Lanisha Jackson, who is the program manager for this project, to go over a presentation for you today outlining the details of the master plan.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. I am going to hand this over to Lanisha and Jack, who's visiting us from North Carolina, who will be on Zoom. But I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for having us today and really thank Dr. Belton and Al Harrell for the leadership that they've provided, not just putting together a master plan, but reaching out into the community and allowing us to develop a similar plan with all the residents at the table. I'd also like to thank the deans and directors and Dr. Merrick and others, because they spent so much time with us, letting us know their vision, giving us the insights and opportunities from only those people that know the university, live the university, and see the future as it could be. And so what you see in this plan is a reflection of the vision of Southern University directors, deans, students, Dr. Belton, Al, and I'd also like to acknowledge my board chair, Preston Castile, who's been just a huge champion of this effort, and CPEX's involvement in making sure that we go the extra mile. Just 2 notes before I hand over to Lanisha. The fact that you have both of these plans, the community plan and the campus master plan, presents itself as an opportunity for true transformation to happen, because we know when investment, and especially public investment, goes into an area, private investment always follows. My organization led the downtown revitalization planning in the early 90s. We also most recently led the visioning and planning for the Road Street on Government Street, if you've been there. And anytime there's an announcement of a planning effort and significant resources going into it, private investment follows. And what we need to follow at the community level is that the city and the state are also following this plan, are also putting money in where you want the money to go, and designing the streets and communities and housing around you how you want it to be. And Southern University has such a enormous amount of leadership to be able to make that happen. And so we're really grateful to be here with you today, and I'm going to hand it over to Lanisha. And again, thank you all so much, especially Dr. Belton and Al Harrell, who have just been enormous leaders in this effort.
Good morning, everyone. As Camille and Al said, I'm Lanisha Jackson, and I'm a planner with the Center for Planning Excellence, or CPEX, and I'd like to echo Camille's sentiments that we appreciate the opportunity to work with Southern University and the System Foundation to develop this plan, and we're really excited and happy to present it to you this morning. So just a quick review of what I'll be going over today. We did a campus analysis, and then we'll just quickly run through what some of those things entailed, and then we'll talk a little bit about the community plan and then some of the projects and programs that would allow Southern University to engage with the Scotlandville community. So this graphic is just showing a regional context of the Southern's campus, and the area in blue is the Scotlandville community. And for the last 1.5 years, we've been working with a community stakeholder committee to develop this community plan. And the idea is that both of these plans, the campus master plan as well as the community plan, will work together in tandem to promote overall redevelopment of this area of North Baton Rouge. So this is just an existing site plan of what Southern University looks like today. And the vision for Southern University is to enhance and increase student enrollment and retention. And so the purpose of this plan is to help guide fundraising to help make and bring that vision to reality. So just jumping into the campus analysis, where we looked at some of the infrastructure, and so that includes pedestrians, bicyclists, and vehicles, and just mobility around campus. And so we kind of just grouped together, just not to go into too much detail here, but mobility looks at pedestrians, cyclists, and vehicles. And so we looked at some of the streets, or all of the streets rather, on campus, and separated them into different typologies, which are color-coded, and then we came up with recommendations and the facilities that should be on those streets, and provided what those should look like to accommodate each of those users. And then we also did that for vehicles, pedestrians, bicyclists, and transit on campus, and again, provided recommendations for what some of those should look like. And then we also looked at some of the open space and landscapes that exist on the campus. And Southern has some really beautiful natural features that could just do with a little bit of enhancements to really create a green anchor space around the campus. All right, just going back here. We came up with 3 priority locations for investments, and these include the Quad, Lake Kernan, and the Riverfront. And so this is what the Quad looks like today. And if I'm being honest, it lacks some of the amenities that provide that really central gathering space that is signature of a lot of universities. And so the vision is to really expand that space, add landscaping, make it pedestrian prioritized with crisscrossing pathways, as well as include artwork and designated space for Greek life and spoken word. And then looking at Lake Kernan, again, another natural resource that is unrivaled, that is located on Southern's campus. And some of the recommendations that we came up with are a perimeter walk around the lake and some lakefront patios for students to sit and engage and just enjoy, have that space to enjoy campus life. And last but not least, the Riverfront Bluff, which is a campus as well as a community asset. It is prime riverfront property, but it is undeveloped and could do with some enhancements for cohesion for some of the structures that exist on the bluff today. So the vision is to create a river walk that is shaded by tree canopies and dotted with historical markers that tell the rich history of Southern University, as well as these occupiable steps that would have multiple uses, including a campus and community gathering space. The concrete steps would support riverfront reinforcement to mitigate some of the erosion that is happening on the campus today, and also a great opportunity just for university branding. Looking at some of the campus buildings and some of the projects that are already coming online soon at Southern. So this graphic is showing buildings that have been demolished and that are proposed for demolition, and just running through some of the projects that are planned and underway. That's the word I was looking for just now. So these are the freshman apartments in the north residential side of campus, the new science building, the Matthews Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, the Alumni Center on the Bluff, and the gateway that would be at the entrance of Southern University on Harding Boulevard, as well as the new Student Union, which would also include some honors apartments. And this is just a comprehensive graphic showing some of the analysis that we did, where we're identifying infrastructure improvements, landscape improvements, showing all of the proposed buildings and some of the major arteries around the campus. And the areas in orange are available development sites where that could probably accommodate additional or proposed buildings. And now I'll pass it over to Jack, who is on Zoom right now, and he will present a little more detail about some of the academic programs and services.
Hello, everyone. Sawyer. I'm sorry I can't be there in person. Happy Bayou Classic. As Lenisha said, I'll talk you through some of the specific building improvements. Let me give a quick shout out to some of the academic and departmental leaders in the room today. Cancer McMeans, Cancer Pierre, Dr. Sahu, thank you all for your help planning this project. Next slide. So this is an aerial view of the existing campus. Buildings in light gray are existing buildings to remain.
I don't know if you hear us, but we don't hear you yet.
We can. Are you having an issue hearing my audio?
If not, we'll just put the mic to it. Okay, tell them to try again.
Jack, can you speak a little bit?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we still don't hear you.
No.
Going great. Get into bed, I'm gonna get scared.
Let's see if this works.
Oh, go ahead and speak, Jack.
You want me to give that a try? Can you hear me now? Oh, okay, let's try this. Can you hear me now? Is that better? No? Oh, okay, let's try this. Can you hear me now? Is that better? No? Oh, okay, let's try this. Can you hear me now? Is that better? No? Oh, okay, let's try this. Can you hear me now? Is that no? Oh, okay.
Okay, is there, is,
Yeah, I think I'll just run through the images without the details. Jack, thank you.
ma'am, is there any way that you can facilitate this portion of the presentation so we can move, we've got a
Yes,
long
I'm
agenda.
about
Thank
to.
you.
Sorry
Thank
about
you.
that.
Thank you.
So I'll just run through some of the specific academic buildings and just what some of those renderings look like. Jack would have gone through the details and just what some of the needs were and what we heard from the deans and directors. But I guess right now we'll just look at the great pictures. So the building mass and style, so this is something that we noted. I think at the last Board of Trustees meeting, we spoke about that cathedral effect and ensuring that the new buildings on campus all have this similar look so that you have this sense of place when you walk onto campus. And just looking at the College of Business, so these intermediary graphics are showing the program needs, so just what some of the spaces that would be implemented in those buildings are, which I won't go into detail, but this is just a rendering based off of what we heard from the College of Business, what the spaces that they would need in the future to accommodate future residents, what some of these would look like. So again, the College of Agricultural, Family, and Consumer Sciences, these are their programmatic needs and what their proposed design would look like. Same for the athletics buildings, their programmatic needs, and proposed designs of what it might look like in the future. The Nelson Mandela College of Government and Social Sciences is programmatic needs and what that building might look like in the future. Same for College of Humanities, its needs, and a rendering of what this building could look like in the future. The Law Center, some of its needs, which include a new parking garage, and what that facility might look like. College of Nursing and Allied Health, its space and programmatic needs, and then what these buildings might look like. Same for College of Sciences and Engineering, and then just what this might look like. The K-12 Lab School. And again, as I'm going through these, just to thank everyone who met with us. We made the trip to Baton Rouge several times to find out specifically what each of these programs would need, and took some time listening and coming up with these recommendations. And this would be the student services and new apartments or honors dorms within the student center. So as Dr. Belton mentioned earlier, the Imagine 20K plan, the purpose of it is to enhance students' enrollment to about 20,000 students, and the goal would be to house about 10,000 of those, and so there would need to be additional housing both on as well as off campus. So looking at some of the planned student housing that's underway, there'll be a replacement apartment building as well as a new freshman apartment building in the north side of campus, and the previously mentioned apartment buildings in the student union. And we also looked at where additional housing could be placed on campus, and so that's identified in the areas in orange, and the areas in blue show where potential housing that could be located off campus, just concentrating on that area immediately around Southern University. The illustration that we have on the board is an apartment building that's located on the California Institute of Technology. We liked it because the architecture is similar to that exists on Southern University today, but it's a LEED certified or energy efficient building, and so it has solar panels, it recycles its water, they condition the air so that the building itself is sustainable, and so just wanted to plant that seed that this is something that Southern can consider to promote its future sustainability goals. And looking at the community and civic engagement, I previously mentioned that we're also working on a community plan that will focus on housing and multimodal transportation and services focused on that dark area that's on the map. And Southern is already kickstarting this process of revitalizing the area by providing some valuable community assets along Harding Boulevard. And so these include the Valdry Center for Philanthropy, the Matthews Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, as well as the Alumni Center that will be located on the bluff. And these will provide spaces and programs that will help to promote overall community development for Scotlandville. There's also further opportunity to enhance community and university engagement. So the foundation owns one of the buildings on Scenic Highway, and so we're proposing to make it a fresh market. It's something that we heard when we did our student campus survey, as well as when we met with each of the deans and directors, that there's limited access to fresh food, and so just providing this service would help to mitigate some of the food desert or issues that exist in Scotlandville today. Some of the other things that we're proposing is revitalizing that segment of Swan Avenue between Scenic Highway and the campus, and just providing student services, making it pedestrian prioritized and an attraction so that the community as well as students can engage and have space to do that. And last but not least, Harding Boulevard, and just making that a mixed-use corridor that provides housing and office space, retail and services, again, that both serve the university as well as the community. So all of these recommendations are outlined in this draft community plan. The plan is centered around 5 major themes that include economic development, housing, community image and beautification, community health, and connecting Southern University with the Scotlandville community. And so each of those themes are parsed out into strategies, goals, and action items, which are create an outline or roadmap for implementation. And so the next steps for the community plan are to present this plan to the Scotlandville community and then work with the District 2 Councilwoman to get it adopted so that it can be included in the city parishes or capital funding and then work towards implementation. And the same would be for this strategic plan. Once it's adopted, use it for capital fundraising and then work towards implementation. And that's my time, so thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you. Colleagues, I'll open it up. Are there any questions, concerns about what's been presented today? Mr. Hilliard. You're going to have to keep it pressed, Mr. Hilliard.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
So I see on the Law Center, nice presentation, by the way. It looks very exciting. I see on the Law Center, there's like landscaping that is 3 stories and 4 stories high. And we're spending, I guess the estimate is 1.8. Have we considered, high winds and stuff for the hurricanes up there?
These are green roofs, and green roofs are a way to reduce the urban heat island effect. Also, create a space where you feel as though you are in a nice, green park landscaped area. But they also hold water, and so when the rain falls, it can percolate through a system and then also be captured. So it's part of designing for a future with more climate change impacts. And so what else would you say on that? I mean, there's no real concern about wind because it's grassed and planters.
Okay. The picture shows bushes, so that's what I was. Okay.
But not big trees.
Okay.
And cities across the globe are and buildings across the globe are really focusing on green infrastructure and green roofs as a sustainability factor.
Okay. Last question. Sorry. On the riverfront one, with the canopies going down the side, same question about those concerns about hurricanes and high winds.
So the tents, the triangle tents, you can remove those. So with the Corps owning the levee, you can't put tree canopy so close to the levee. So it would be very hard to be able to produce shade. And we all know how hot it is in Louisiana when you're on concrete especially. And so to create a really inviting place where people have shade and want to hang out, those tents, which are just hung up by ropes and poles, can always be removed, but create that space where you'll see more gathering.
So we need to factor more for our groundskeeping team. More work. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and you could just remove them around hurricane season and then put them back up.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard. Ms. Reeves.
Well, first off, I just want to compliment the CPEX group for a really great presentation, and this is very exciting and wonderful to see. I'm grateful for the work that you've done. I love the quality of life pieces that are included in this, and I like the engagement with the community. What recommendations do you have for us on ways that the university could help to support the implementation of the community plan?
Thank you so much. That's a really great question. Lots of decisions are made every day that led us to the place that we are, the design of our communities, how our community feels. And for Southern University to rise, the community needs to rise around it. People go they live in areas where they want, they choose to go to schools and places where they want to live and they want to grow. And so we've got to retain those students once they graduate. And the best way to do that is enhancing the quality of life in the surrounding area. And a lot of that is making sure that the decisions that are being made around infrastructure, roadway design, housing initiatives, jobs and housing and parks and everything being connected, which is all laid out in the plan, is imperative to getting to that vision. And so with the university's leadership and continued involvement of what's happening in the surrounding area, we can achieve this. And Lanisha and the community, there's a lot of champions that want to make sure this gets implemented too. And so we've got to make sure the codes and ordinances and policies are updated to meet the vision. Otherwise, growth will continue exactly as it's happening now in the surrounding area unless those policies don't change. And then, a lot of the roads around the university are owned by the state as well as, many by the city. And so making sure that any roadway improvements follow this vision, that they're accounting for bike, ped, greenways, tree canopies. As in many areas across the country, there's a dearth of trees that provide shade and that provide beautification and also are used to reduce risk of flooding, which is something that we've also put into the plan given our risk with the heavy rainfall events and making sure that we can manage water. And I know that you have board members who are involved in a lot of that infrastructure work, so that's a champion right there. But I think Dr. Belton's leadership, Al's leadership, and the continued leadership, just ensuring that there's open communication with the mayor and council members, and that what's happening surrounding the university is leading by the road plan. I don't know if you have any.
That concludes your comments, Ms. Reeves. Thank you. We'll recognize in this order Dr. Tarver, Mr. Lawson, and then Dr. Davis. Dr. Tarver. Please use your, thank you.
I have a follow-up question to Mr. Hilliard's concern earlier. I don't. And around the ROTC buildings? I can't, the picture doesn't seem to indicate how far that extends.
So what
Pardon?
Jack, who we aren't able to hear, would have the details of that, but what I would say that these are recommendations or proposals, and so it's not yet final design, but once we get into final design, then we can look at those specific details.
Okay. Thank you.
And keep in mind, I believe these are conceptual renderings.
Right.
So they will require much more refinement and detail before they're presented as plans. Mr. Lawson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kind of tying into Board Member Reeves' question, and I like the quality of life pieces, but getting back towards the campus and looking at the walkways and things of that nature along the river, will there be any consideration for students and maybe folk that may be in the incubator to show their wares and sell their wares when they're doing spoken words and other ancillary things? Will there be some provisions for that?
Definitely. I'm sorry that it didn't come across in the presentation, but there, in the conceptual design, there is designated space for Greek life or also spoken word. And again, this is something that we heard from when we did the student survey. So we made sure to incorporate that into the design.
And there will be places that students could sell
Yes.
trinkets, paparazzi, or whatever the case may be.
Correct.
Quick follow-up. You all are going to participate in the implementation of this as well, i.e. helping, assisting, and finding funds and or sources to accomplish this, right?
Yeah, we, as a nonprofit organization, and we work across the state, we have made a decision, and with my board, and like I said, my board chair is Preston Castill, that we want to stay committed, as we've done with downtown Baton Rouge and Mid-City, to Southern University and the surrounding Scotlandville neighborhood, as long as you all want us here. And we are, as a nonprofit, we also can seek different grants, especially around the neighborhood, and are already doing so. So we're about to develop a weatherization program on housing, seeking resources to pay for trees, and so we hope to stay committed.
Did that conclude your comments, Mr. Lawson? Dr. Davis, and then we'll come back to Dr. Tarver. Dr. Davis?
Yes, I just want to congratulate you on the plan. I know this is preliminary, but I serve on the Baton Rouge North Economic Development Commission, and I know you're aware of us because I think we've had some interaction. But if it's appropriate and timely, I'd like to ask you to come to our board meeting and present this plan, just as an informational item, so we'll know what's doing it, because we are also making plans to do things in this footprint, even though our footprint is wider than this, so we would like to ask you to do that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Dr. Tarver.
The follow-up to my observation had to do with page 116, which shows this river walk extending around to the ravine system, which connects to the Mississippi River. As you probably have known, or you may know from your investigations, at least once or twice a year, when the river rises extensively, it flows all the way back through the campus, across the campus, all the way, and it eventually blocks off the drainage of water out of Scotlandville. Does your plan intend to address the whole issue of the drainage of the Scotlandville community through the Baton Rouge campus to the river? And then the last part of that is, did you envision having a weir system installed between the campus and the river?
So the way to manage water in the future is going to be in the implementation of a number of redundancies, and some of those are green infrastructure. And so we have green infrastructure embedded in the plan throughout, both the university plan and the Scotlandville plan. And this is the way that we've built our communities, we can't just have a silver bullet that is going to be able to manage the amount of water. So we do have green infrastructure, which is a water capture infiltration system throughout all of the plan and the community plan. And then in terms of a weir, Jack may be able to speak to this, but we were working with the Corps just to understand what's possible around that area. But as Mr. Rutledge said, that would be design build. These are conceptual images.
Also, Dr. Tarver, you should know that the problem that you just identified, that's being mitigated right now. The work is underway, and we'll hear about that a little bit later.
You will?
Yes. In fact, it's presented at our last meeting, but it's underway right now. Okay. Yeah, it's underway. We'll hear very shortly about a little bit more detail about that. Any other questions, board members, regarding the master plan presentation? Any questions regarding the master plan presentation? All right. Is there a motion? It's been moved by Ms. Reeves and seconded by Mr. Bartholomew that we adopt the master plan. Now, I think I'm going to go ahead and carry the motion. And I would, before we recognize Senator Fields, whose comments will be part and parcel to this, I want to ask Mr. Harrell to come back to the mic. But let's go ahead and adopt the motion. Is there any objection to the adoption of the master plan? Any objection? Hearing none, the master plan stands adopted. Thank you for all of the hard work that has gone into this. I want to thank the foundation, because this is another example in a long line of many, many examples of the kind of partnership that this institution has with the foundation. The cost associated with the development of this plan, which has been a long time coming, is somewhere in the neighborhood of about $650,000. The foundation put up $350,000, and I believe the system put up another $300,000 to make this work. Now, with the adoption of the master plan, the real work begins. I believe if you go into the summary page, I think there are about 12 major projects that have been identified in there that a total price tag of about $800 million. Is that right, Mr.
Yes.
Harrell?
Yes, 780 million.
All right, so let's round it up to 800 million. There's no way we will get all of these plans funded, Senator Fields, despite your best efforts, in the timeline that we've identified through capital outlay. And so what's going to happen now that I'd like for Mr. Harrell to talk about very briefly, because I'm committed to getting us out of here by noon, because I know a lot of us have obligations, the president included, at the coaches' luncheon, to raise the money by way of a capital campaign. So can you touch briefly upon what the next steps are in terms of the timeline to raise the revenue necessary to implement some of these projects, and over what period of time you think we can successfully begin implementing them after the capital campaign or in conjunction with it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll be brief. The logical next steps would be to put another team together. Board Member Lawson, you asked that question, to begin to frame a capital campaign that would onboard both public and private resources to complete these projects. Initially, we did an analysis that this would take us anywhere between 5 to 7 years to raise the money, right? To do all of the projects in implementation would be about 10 years. So logical next steps, the foundation will work with Dr. Belton to put a team together to begin to frame a capital campaign. Volunteers, business partners, to raise $780 million over the course of the next 5 to 7 years.
Thank you. And so, again, when I recognized Mr. Malvo, and we will recognize another person who has been very shortly regarding an agenda item, when I said it's important to have people like him, and it's important that people have it at every level, that's what we're going to need if we're going to be successful with this undertaking. And we also got to keep in mind that with the fluctuation as it relates to the cost of construction, so we don't know what that figure represents a cost associated with today's dollars, but we don't know what that's going to look like over the next 5 to 10 to 15 years as we work to implement that. And so all of us, each one of us, are going to have to become advocates and ambassadors if we hope to be successful in this. So I want to thank you, Al, for the leadership that you have provided, the foundation's board of directors, for continually being a partner with this system and institution to move the needle and position us to be a 21st century institution. Dr. Belton, would you like to add anything before we recognize Senator Fields?
No, I just simply want to, again, thank Al and Camille, for their leadership. I really think this is a game changer for the university. What I was most pleased with was that it was a bottoms-up approach. The university community in and of itself gave indication of what their needs are, not only today, but what their academic needs will be and what kind of infrastructure will be necessary 10 years from now. It provides for us the opportunity to really blur the boundaries between the university and the community. There have been a number of studies over the years that dictate being purposeful in growing the community, but Southern University rightfully has to assume some responsibility and leadership in terms of making this happen, and I think this plan provides for that. And so a lot of work went into it. I certainly want to thank members of our faculty and our staff, the community, for their engagement with us, but genuinely my appreciation to Al, his team, Camille, and their team. I think a wonderful product that will take us a long way for many years.
Here. Thank you, Mr. Harrell. Don't go very far in case there are some more questions. I want to recognize now the chairman of the Louisiana Senate Committee on Education, a son of Southern, who, since his return to the Louisiana Senate, has fully immersed himself in the capital outlay process, have summoned Dr. Belton and myself to his office and says, okay, let's get this right. Let's figure out what your needs are. And I am pleased to say, colleagues, that it is paying in tremendous dividends. We've got a number of projects that he has already secured funding for, and we are tremendously, tremendously indebted to him, his work, and his leadership. And not only him, but he also has the support of our entire legislative delegation. And so we want to thank everybody. And at this time, we recognize Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And let me, first of all, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. I appreciate all you have done over the past 2 years. You've been chairman of the board, and your leadership, 3 years. I didn't know that. I've only been here for 2 years. But for the past 3 years, 2 years, I've been under your leadership, and I appreciate the leadership you have.
Thank you.
You have given to Southern University, and I want to thank you for that leadership. And I want to thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank you for your leadership. For the past 2 years I've been in the legislature, you have actually given Southern University the best, and I really appreciate your leadership, and I think it's befitting to give these two gentlemen a big round of applause. Mr. Chairman, I want to give you a brief legislative update, and I speak on behalf of the entire Legislative Black Caucus. First, I want to talk about two policy issues, and then I want to get into capital outlay. The first policy change, when I first entered the legislature, the Board of Regents, to some degree, was appropriating money that was not constitutional, so we changed that. The HB1 it used to go to the Board of Regents, and then they would appropriate your money. That has changed, and every year we receive the budget from the Commissioner of Administration. It always have that language in it, and we have to change it every year. So we are forever, on top of that. So the monies can only be appropriated by the legislature and not the Board of Regents. The second policy change we've made as a legislature, and that is when I talked to the president of both Southern and Grambling, one of the concerns they had and continue to have is, their recruitment of young, particularly minority kids, because the role, scope, and mission of Southern University and Grambling State University is to give kids, like me, an opportunity. And we are all concerned about how we attract kids to Southern and Grambling. And so in the master plan of the state of Louisiana through the Board of Regents, there are 3 tiers. There's a statewide, there is a flagship and regional, and Southern and Grambling is under the regional. And so we talked to the Commissioner of Education, and she agreed, and the Board of Regents agreed to add a new tier, and that is an HBCU tier. Now, I checked it this morning. I didn't see it on the website, but they voted on it in the Board of Regents, so we added a new tier, and that is an HBCU tier. So those are the new policy changes that I wish to address today. Now, in terms of capital outlay, Mr. Chairman and members, Shreveport campus, the Lewis Collier Hall Science Building renovations, we got $225,000 in P1, $3.7 million in P5, a total of $4 million for the Lewis Collier Hall Science Building, and that's in Shreveport. The second notable change in the Shreveport campus is the new Workforce Training and Technology Center. We put a total of $675,000 in for that project. The law school, a law center renovation, we got a total of $11,400,000. We got $650,000 in P2 and $10,750,000 in P5. Stewart Hall, we still have the 1.8 million in P1. OW Hall, 5.6 million in P1. Fisher Hall renovations, 3.5 million in P1. All of these are P1 projects. In New Orleans, we've been fighting for the ADA, to be ADA compliant, so we have a total of $1.6 million divided between P1 and P5. The Baton Rouge campus, there's been a lot of talk about the disaster project shelter, the big shelter project. We got a total of $11.1 million. We only have $1 million in P1, $10 million in P5. Now, in 2020, I put a total of $48.5 million for the new science complex, $1.5 million in planning and development. That's to build a new science building. Last year, I put $38 million for BRCC. I saw the chancellor standing in the back. I would like, Mr. Chairman and members, for you to leverage those dollars to get your naming rights. I was talking to the chancellor. They're doing the same thing. They have leveraged those dollars. They're working to get, it's like a 20 or 30 or $1 million sponsorship for naming rights. I mean, this is a very prime opportunity to get naming rights for that building. You got $1.5 million in planning. In 2021, which was this year, we got a total of $1 million for a school of business, a total of $35 million with $34 million for construction. That's another area where you can really leverage your dollars to get naming rights for your school of business. Now, this was an easy, low-hanging fruit, Mr. Chairman. I like when y'all bring those to us. The honors dorm, we got $36 million. We Center. There's been some talk about that. I put $1 million direct appropriation for the building of a new alumni center. That money is in the budget and must be spent by the end of the fiscal year. Now, here's what I want to spend a little time on, Mr. Tarver. I'm used to calling Tarver Senator. The Ravine project. We brought almost all of the decision makers to the campus a few months ago to look at the problems with the ravine. We're losing a health building in the back of the campus because the ravine the erosion is taking place at a rapid pace. Under the DOTD contract, they have an emergency contract where they're working on the road at present. And so I had put an amendment on 624, I think it was. That amendment was taken off of the bill. And so we have no funding for it. So I brought the legislators to Southern to let them see firsthand. And so what we decided to do was attach the emergency bill that we have in present. And so DOTD is going to work the project. And so using their emergency authority, we are addressing that problem as we speak. And so they hired a contractor. They've walked the entire campus. And I want them to address the project in a holistic way. And so come December, the first week of December, they're going to start addressing that project. They are not going to do it like they said they were going to do it at first because they're afraid of the erosion problem, so they're going to address it more from a holistic perspective. So that's going to start the first week of December. And then lastly, I had an opportunity to visit the lab school on 2 or 3 weeks ago. And Mr. Chairman and members, I'm going to be working profusely with my colleagues in the legislature I learned a couple of things. One, the lab school was built in the 1950s, and we have been throwing a lot of dollars at the lab school, renovating. We got about $8 million in P5. We got $1 million or so in P1. I just think it's time to build a new lab school. So I've talked to my colleagues in the Senate, and we're going to be fighting for dollars to build a new lab school and a whole lab school. So we'll be fighting for about $50 million to build an entire new lab school, because they are on the college football field and what have you. The problem is they also have a problem with, once you build a new lab school, where will the kids go? So I'm talking to the East Baton Rouge Parish East Baton Rouge Parish Housing Authority. That land that they have, we donated it to them in 1940. And so they're looking at opportunities to donate it back to us so we can build a lab school there. That's my update, Mr. Chairman. If there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time.
Any questions for Senator Fields?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yeah. Senator Fields, thank you for your presentation and all your good work. And I'm sure you looked at this, but what's the opportunity with the Corps of Engineers? Because all of that riverfront, that's Corps, that's in their footprint. That's what they're supposed to do. Going all the way up through those canals, and the diversion canal, that was a project that happened initially under my leadership when I was Mayor Baker. Now it's being built. But also they're supposed to improve downstream and tributaries. And so I just think that they have a stake in this game.
Yeah, that whole problem is on my watch, and we are dealing with it right now through DOTD, but the Corps of Engineers is also playing an active role. We're going to address that problem in a holistic way. And lastly, Mr. Chairman, and I can assure you of that. I mean, we're addressing it now. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, I know there was some talk about food desert. And I met with the president a couple of months ago. I mean, this is not on Southern's campus, but it's right at the mouth of Southern. I do realize there's a real problem with, having fresh food in North Baton Rouge. So we are working with stakeholders. By this time next year, we have a 15,000 square foot food market right at the mouth of Southern University, right next to is it the Palisades?
Palisade.
Palisade, right next to the Palisade, and that's going to happen. So that is a done deal, and it's going to happen. And I want to thank the stakeholders that we've brought together to do that, and thank you, Mr. President, for being there. Thank you all.
Well, he's being modest, but one of the reasons why it's going to happen is because he secured an appropriation that has been placed with Bill Baton Rouge, who is working on a collaborative with a provider to make it happen. So again, we are tremendously indebted to the work that he's doing on our behalf. Dr. Belton, did you want to add anything?
Well, I just wanted to echo the very same thing. We went to a meeting, there were stakeholders all around the room, and they were poised to begin to strategize about how to make this happen. And it quickly became apparent that he had already made it happen. So I certainly want to as well, acknowledge Senator Fields for his diligence. We have made incredible progress in keeping with his leadership. We have not I've come to know Senator Fields as one who does not act passively for anything. He just gets things done. And I think it appropriate for us to again acknowledge him for his great service to Southern University.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go now to action item C. No, this is an informational item. I apologize. Southern University System Strategic Plan and accountability scorecard. We'll get a brief presentation from Dr. Penning. Brief.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You have me? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Chairman Rutledge, Chairman-elect Shorty, President Chancellor, to the distinguished members of the Southern University Board of Supervisors, I say good morning. I will be brief. I'll go through very quickly, but two takeaways that I want to make sure that everyone is cognizant of. Number one, the Southern University system, like all other institutions, were impacted by the global pandemic. But what is most critical, and that happened in 2020, but what is most critical is that the data shows us the resiliency of the Southern University system, its campuses, and its chancellors. And on that note, I'll begin very quickly with the first slide. Let's see, Clorth. I'm pressing, it's not moving. Clorth, what do I need to do? Thank you. So we'll start with the Baton Rouge campus. And as you see on the Baton Rouge campus in 2020, this, by the way, shows the data going back to our baseline in 2017 all the way through fall 2021 preliminary data. The data is before you. One thing I do want to show again, and we see this trend manifest itself through our campuses. In 2019, we were up to 7,140 students, fall 2019. In 2020, we were impacted by the pandemic. But here comes preliminary data for fall 2021, and Southern University Baton Rouge rebounded to 7,404 students. Number one, we have not seen a 7,400 number by the Southern University Baton Rouge campus since 2010, and so that's a testament to the hard work on the campus. The other piece that I want to join the leadership here in acknowledging and thanking Senator Fields, Chairman Fields, is because he was absolutely instrumental in our passage of the minimum standards for both Southern University Baton Rouge and Southern University New Orleans, where we now were able to take advantage of that, and that contributed to the large class that we saw in fall 2021. Graduate enrollment on the Baton Rouge campus, you see the trend again. I will focus on 2020. We were down to 772 students, but you see the rebound to 848 students as of the preliminary data for fall 2021. Here we see new first-time students. This is our intake, and again, the data speaks for itself. 1,372 students we had in fall 2020. That was our pandemic year. The rebound has been absolutely fantastic to see 1,600 students, new first-time students on the Baton Rouge campus this past fall. Dual enrollment, we've kind of plateaued a little bit on dual enrollment. We're looking for exciting things. You see the impact. We're drifting in the right direction up until 2020, and I think the rebound is well on its way. And finally, online enrollment on the Baton Rouge campus. We fell in 2020. Again, the global pandemic spared nobody, but the rebound is manifesting itself on the Baton Rouge campus. Oops, go back. Chlorith, I think I need, yeah. Can we go back one? Thank you. All right, and then retention rates. I wanted to capture this for the Baton Rouge campus. We had dipped as low as 60% on the retention rates, and a number of strategies were put in place, one being the University College, and I want to acknowledge Dr. Zacchaeus Johnson. Wherever he is, Zach, we thank you for your hard work. Those are not the numbers that were reflective of the Southern University Baton Rouge campus, but because of the efforts that were put together, wraparound services, and new impetus that was charged by President Chancellor Dr. Belton, we have moved up from 60% to 66%. And colleagues, while this past year, our U.S. News rankings, we went from 34 to number 20. It is data like this that will move Southern into the top 10 among all HBCUs in the nation. Moving on from the Baton Rouge campus, Dr. Monaghan, can you roll this for me, please? Next, we have SUNO. And the trends are the same here. I'll reflect on 5 key areas. Number one, total headcount enrollment. You see the data before you, 2264. 2239. Again, I believe the efforts that Chancellor Ammons first put in stabilizing the finances of SUNO have taken place. The next piece, and I've spoken with Chancellor Ammons tremendously, he is now looking at invigorating that enrollment number. So absolutely moving forward, we expect great things to come from SUNO as it relates to total headcount enrollment. The same can be said on graduate enrollment. Strategies are being put in place by the SUNO leadership. Undergraduate enrollment, you see that before you. And then new first-time students. Once again, finances were a big challenge. Those have been stabilized. Accreditation has been established. Now is the time for SUNO to yield moving forward on its enrollment growths. Dual enrollment, we see the evidence over there again. Chancellor Ammons and his team have put together tremendous strategies that are seeing the fruits of their labors being realized as we speak. And of course, online enrollment, probably the biggest growth percentage factor we see on the SUNO campus. Next slide. Southern University Shreveport. Southern University Shreveport, you see the trends before you. This is total headcount enrollment, which for the Shreveport campus also represents the total undergraduate enrollment. 2457, as low as we fell in 2020. As of 2021, preliminary data that was submitted. SUSLA right now is looking around 2,800 students being on the campus last 3 weeks. They showed me the data where we have right around 2773 paid students on the SUSLA campus right now. Next slide. Here we see new first-time students on the SUSLA campus. Again, the data is before you. You begin to see the impact of the rebound coming out of 2020 into 2021. Dual enrollment, probably one of the biggest areas that SUSLA is known for, and I believe SUSLA leads the Southern University system in terms of growth of dually enrolled students. You see the data before you. Next slide. Online enrollment, again, we saw the crash with, or the decline due to the pandemic, and you see the rebound once again happening in that area. The Law Center. With the Law Center, again, commendations to Chancellor Pierre. Pandemic or no pandemic, Chancellor Pierre continues just to power forward within the Southern University system, and he certainly deserves commendation for that. The Ag Center. With the Ag Center, we track 4 key areas, and speaking really to the hardcore mission of the Ag Center. These are the number of proposals that were submitted. The trend continues from 41 to 43 proposals submitted between FY 1920, FY 2021. The dollar value of these proposals, next slide. The dollar value is reflected before you. You see the growth in the number of dollars that are submitted that are related to those grant submissions. And now we look at the award side and the number of awards that were made over the past 4 years. And most impressive, I think, has been the numbers, the dollar value of those awards, which is the next slide. And there you see $10 million coming from the Ag Center in terms of the number of dollars awarded in 2021 relative to 1920. Next slide. The Baton Rouge landmass, and I give all the credit to President Chancellor Dr. Belton. One of the things we realized when we looked at U.S. News and World Report rankings and we looked at our peers, and I'll call them our competitors. Take Florida FAMU, for example, Dr. Ammons. FAMU, being a single campus, has both a law center and an ag center. So when they report their numbers, they take advantage of both the research that's generated through the ag activities and also the data that's generated, the completion and enrollment data that's generated based on their law school, all combined and enrolled in one. So for us, we do understand we're a system of 5 institutions, and we want to maintain that and keep that integrity. But at the same time, we do not want to lose the fact that when it comes to reporting purposes, the Southern University landmass ought to leverage those resources that are there. So for example, in the area of enrollment, the Baton Rouge campus by itself would report 7,404 students. But if we end the landmass where we combine the Southern University Law Center, that number goes to 8,300 students. 2 things needed to happen for us to have the authority to do this. Number one, we reached out to IPEDS, the National Center for Educational Statistics, and this past summer they agreed and approved for us to do what they call the joint reporting in our IPEDS data moving forward. So this fall, we just completed the reporting of our consolidated data for enrollment and completion for the Southern University Baton Rouge campus and the Southern University Law Center. And this could not happen without the leadership of President Chancellor Dr. Belton and Chancellor Pierre being on one accord in agreement, realizing that for reporting purposes, to strengthen our hand among our competitors, we must consolidate our data and leverage the power and the resources of the Southern University system. Next slide. When it comes to graduate enrollment, by itself, the Southern University Baton Rouge campus would have reported 848 students. But when you add the Law Center, where every one of those graduates are, every one of their students are graduate, doctoral, professional students, that number jumps to 1,700. That is what a FAMU would be reporting. That is what we must also report in order to maintain and, in fact, leverage our position in these rankings. Then again, leveraging the landmass beyond the data on the research side. You see the data underneath. The Ag Center by itself, over the last 4 years, 43, and I'll use this most recent year, 2021, 43 grants submitted, 81 by the Baton Rouge campus. But if we consolidate that in our reporting, that would be 124 grants submitted. Dr. Monaghan, next slide to show the dollar value of these submissions. So we would go from, instead of 21 and 42 million, add those together, $63 million is what the consolidated Baton Rouge landmass is generating. And for reporting purposes, we want to make sure we get credit for it. No different from, again, I use the example of FAMU that maximizes every one of its leverages in order to maintain that status they enjoy in the U.S. News and World Ranking status. The same thing you see among number of awards. And let's go to the dollar value of these awards. So here you see the dollar value. Individually, it would be $10 million for the Ag Center, $21 million for the SUBR campus. Combined, it would have been $32 million. Now, when we leverage the landmass, we should be able to, for reporting purposes, demonstrate that the landmass generated at least $32 million in this past fiscal year. And finally, I'll close with the Southern University system. You see the Southern University system over the last 4 years, again, the impact of the pandemic in fall 2020, we dropped to 12,400 plus students. This year, fall 2021, we've rebounded to over 13,363 students, the highest we're going to enjoy among the last 4 years in terms of total headcount enrollment. Next slide. Graduate enrollment, again, you see the drop again, the impact of the pandemic. We were kind of plateauing, but again, this year, with several strategies put in place, one of them being some leadership we now enjoy in the graduate school, we see the rebound that's going on fall 2021. That number is over 2,000 graduate students. Next slide. Undergraduate enrollment. You see that data before you, fall 2020, and the rebounding, the resilience shown by the Southern University system in fall 2021. Next slide. I still have 2 more slides. Dual enrollment, you see the increase in dual enrollment, and finally you see the increase in online enrollment for the Southern University system. And I'll pause over here by closing and simply saying that we have the scorecard data that is attached, will be available to all the board members. Overall, the Southern University system completed 73% of the metrics that were assigned to them. The Southern University Baton Rouge campus completed 78% of its metrics. The SUNO campus completed 52% of its outcome metrics assigned over the same period. Southern University at Shreveport completed 57% of their metrics. And I'm proud to say and very pleased to say that both the Southern University Law Center and the Southern University Agricultural Research and Extension Center, both centers completed 100% of their assigned metrics. So in closing, In closing, Mr. Chairman, just 2 takeaways. Yes, we were impacted by the pandemic, but we are resilient people. We are the Southern University system, and every one of our campuses has shown the rebound, that resiliency. I want to commend individually the chancellors. Dr. Belton often talks about leadership matters. Chancellor Emmons, Chancellor McMeans, Chancellor Pierre, we thank you for that leadership. We thank you for the rebound. And as they say, go Jags. God bless each and every one of you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back to you, sir.
Dr. Penny, can you speak a little bit about our financial position?
Yes, sir, absolutely. And that's in the scorecards. In the case of all the campuses, I'm very pleased to report that both for current ratios, working capital, and unrestricted net position, which really speaks to our cash flow, each of our campuses are not only in the green, but have demonstrated strong financial stability. Now, I want to make sure that we credit the right reasons for this. The CARES dollars have absolutely played a wonderful bridge for our campuses. And I think the CARES dollars, and I can certainly speak for Shreveport, have allowed us to cover those enrollment losses that we've experienced, but has positioned each of our universities to use these bridge dollars to, first of all, fix those structural items on their campuses and position each of the institutions for greatness. So the ratios, the working capital, unrestricted net position right now looks stellar for the Southern University system.
All right, thank you, Dr. Penning. I think we do have some questions or comments. We'll recognize
Yes, sir.
first Mr. Fondale.
Thank you for your presentation. I saw you combine the numbers for the law school and SUBR. What are the total number of students enrolled in the Southern University system?
Yes, sir. The total number of students right now across the Southern University system, and it's on the slide, I have that here. 13,000, I believe, 363.
I heard you emphasizing earlier.
13,363, yes, sir.
The importance of combining our numbers. I think it's just as important to let the state know and others with, you know, that are in our, to know how many students we have in total, so that those of us in this room can advance that also.
Yes, sir.
And let other folks know. This
Yes,
is
sir.
the place to go. Southern is the place to go. And again, I've said it before, all that are here are ambassadors to help us in recruiting and maintaining what we have here also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other? Mr. Bartholomew.
Outstanding, Dr. Penny.
Thank you,
Outstanding report. I think that's the type of information we need to receive.
Thank you.
And to keep us aware, and also the community aware of how progress is being made. And thank you for your expertise. Job well done.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Dr. Penny.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, members, if there is no objection, I'd like to take up items D through L in globo. All right, well, I'm gonna need to read them first. Thank you. I am, but I'm gonna take them up, but item J, I want to invite that person to have a word. So item D, ratification of the reduction in housing rate for spring 2021 SUBR. Item E, request approval of MOU between the Institute for Law Reform and the Southern University Law Center and scholarship grant donation from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation. Item F, request approval of certification of SUBR candidates for graduation. Item G, request approval of the Denisa Hardley Fulmer Impact Endowed Scholarship and Scholarship Presentation. Item H, request approval of retirement incentive plan for tenured faculty and unclassified employees at SUNO. Item I, request approval of graduate placement student policy system. Item J, request approval of an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters for Mr. Irvin Matthews, SUBR. Item K, request approval of Southern University of Shreveport assignment and interim appointment of Chancellor of the Southern University at Shreveport, Dr. Penning. And item L, request approval of personnel action on positions equal to or greater than $60,000. I think it was moved by Mr. Bartholomew. Who was second? Is there a second? Ms. Reeves seconded. Item J, okay, before we get to item J, E and G, Chancellor Pierre, did you want to make a presentation?
Very briefly. Thank you. By your approval of the MOU, I'll get Mr. Darrell Johnson to, we have essentially created a situation now that we are working with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the Baton Rouge Area Chamber to do a lot of the things that we want to do in terms of minority enterprise development, and he'll have brief remarks on behalf of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And this is historic because the only institution other than the Southern University that this has been done with is Howard University Law School.
Greetings to you all. My name is Darrell Johnson. I lead diversity and inclusion for the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, regional economic development organization for the Capital Region. Also a Southern University graduate, so happy to be with you all here today. As Chancellor Pierre mentioned, there's a $180,000 gift from the United States Chamber of Commerce Foundation, which is a 3-year commitment for $60,000 in scholarships for law students. In addition to that, we have created a working partnership with the Law Center and the new MBDA Center to provide and help minority businesses with their equitable opportunities and provide for sustainability and growth for those folks within the capital region as well as the state of Louisiana. So I wanted to thank you all today for allowing us to come here and present this information to you.
Thank you.
So your approval of this essentially gives us the ability to have our students, and in January, 3 of them will get $10,000 scholarships. So we will get a check from them for the $60,000 as one of 3. And you have allowed a lot of law students to be able to get at least $20,000 a year for those who are going to stay those 2 semesters. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you.
And on the second, we have an item before you to approve an endowed scholarship that has to be sent to the Board of Regents in the name of our alum who died unexpectedly, Denisa Harley Fulmer. Ms. Fulmer was an intellectual property lawyer who worked for Coca-Cola and Nike and Hershey's. And her husband and friends raised the money for the endowment, and we get a match from the Board of Regents. And the first scholarship that they wanted to award from the excess money above the requirement is to Ms. Nadia Foster. Ms. Foster is here, and I'd like to present her with the scholarship check. Ms. Foster, an extraordinary young lady who has been a Apple scholar and an Apple intern. I think she's still here.
Is she still here? Would you please stand? Thank you.
Come on.
Congratulations.
Come on. Come on. Got this for you. And the first scholarship check is for $2,500.
Make sure you get a check you can take to the bank too, okay? Thank you and congratulations to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Chancellor. We go now back to item J. I had several members of the board say to me, don't forget Irvin Matthews is here. I said, I know Irvin is here, but we had just a little bit more special moment for him today. Irvin and his late wife, Darlene, God bless her memory, have been ardent supporters of the Southern University system over the years. I checked with Al, and I believe just in the span of the last 3 or 4 years, they've contributed somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.5 million in cash to the cause of Southern University. Irvin is a native of Lake Charles, Reverend Talbert and Mr. Fondell, and owns and is a member of the Southern University System Foundation Board of Directors. He will be the commencement speaker on December 10th for Southern University at Baton Rouge. And during that ceremony, we will confer upon him an honorary doctorate of humane letters. So we want to congratulate you, Irvin. And we certainly would welcome some remarks, if you would, please. So, if you'd like to make some remarks, we would welcome them, please.
Well, I didn't come prepared to make remarks, but as my ex-wife would, my wife that just passed, would say, he's never at a loss for words. So, no, thank you for the acknowledgement. You know, I've been committed to Southern University for many, many years, and plan on remaining committed for as long as I'm here. You know, as we look at the university, look at what it did for me and the things that I have accomplished as a result of my attending Southern University, I feel that I have to give back. And I'm also pushing others, I think, to do the same thing, because I think for these HBCUs to survive, we've got to carry the load. We're going to have to do the things that are right to do to keep these schools in place, because we need them. I love this school, and will continue to do everything I can do for it, and thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Members, we now go to item M, request approval of a sabbatical leave for Dr. Yasser Banadaki. Is there a motion? Mr. Bartholomew moves, and who second? Dr. Whitfield second. Is there any objection?
Hearing none, the item is approved. We'll now go to our resolutions. Dr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the board, our November 2021 resolutions and commendations are as follows. Our sincerest condolences to the James Fortenberry family. Dr. James Fortenberry was a native of Mississippi and resident of Baton Rouge. He was a professor of education and later dean of the graduate school at Southern University at Baton Rouge, and he passed away on November 6, 2021. Our condolences are also extended to the Freddie Juman Smith family. Mr. Freddie Juman Smith was born in New Orleans, Louisiana, and a resident of Baton Rouge. He was the husband of Patricia Smith. He passed away on November 15, 2021. Finally, commendations are extended to Dr. Marcus Jones, who was recently named the 20th president of Northwestern State University. Jones is the first black president in the university's history. Happy Bayou Classic, and this concludes our commendations and resolutions, Mr. Chair.
Boy, that was short. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution? Ms. Reeves moves and Ms. Smith seconds. Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolutions? Hearing none, the resolutions stand adopted. We go now to our informational items. Item A, Southern University semester in Shreveport update. Chancellor Pierre.
Yes, sir. We have Professor Alfred, who has a brief presentation.
Did you say great or brief?
Brief.
Okay.
It's great, but it's brief.
Yes, sir.
Just give me a second.
Thank you. Chairman, newly elected chairman, and this distinguished board, I bid you greetings. Thank you. I understand that I need to be out of here by 3:59. So I have two.
Did you say 3:59?
First, I just want to say, during this season of gratitude, I just like to express my gratitude. I am grateful and humbled to stand before you today as a native of Shreveport who has returned home. I'm on the ground. And with that being said, I have two objectives. One is to acknowledge our progress, and two is to honor the process by giving a high-level status report on the Semester in Shreveport pilot program. As you can see, we have a distinguished leadership team. This distinguished leadership team consists of the facilities, the architect, the library, and information technology. But as a collective, we know that we're responsible for the strategic approach of a phased approach to the semester in Shreveport and beyond. However, all of us know that it takes more than the seen. It also takes the unseen. There are many people who had a vision, entities that are providing unwavering support as I stand on the ground in Shreveport right now to help us facilitate this vision that has become a reality. I'm here to say, here's the good news. We stand firmly in phase one. The good news is that on January 6, 2021, we are kicking off. I have two prongs. One is the site, the second one is the students. The site is confirmed as Shreve Memorial Library. We are in phase one of renovations. The renovations will be done for phase one as of January 6, 2021. The students have been identified. The students have not only been identified, I'd like to just say we call them the sagacious seven. Seven students who have shown their mental keen discernment and their good judgment. They have good judgment because they answered the call. It's something to be commended to say that they will be a part of an inaugural class. They are making history. And as you can see, their home place, I like to call it the home site. We have Rachel Hughes from Shreveport, Allison Williams from Bastrop, Timberly Barnum from Natchitoches, Tanner Yadell from Monroe, Jakira Gibson from Monroe, Courtney Jones from Monroe, and Aja Winslow from Monroe. As you can see, the pathway to legal education in the Northwest region, if we build it, they will come. These students are coming back to Louisiana, to the northern sector of Louisiana, and they are going to be that class, that historical class that will comprise this kickoff. This kickoff also allows them to align their career interest with regional opportunities in the legal, business, medical, health sector of Shreveport. When I say unwavering support, I mean that the people of Shreveport, the entities of Shreveport, are welcoming these particular students to expand in terms of their externship opportunities. The kickoff. As you know, a venture of this sort does not happen without financials, and we are grateful for the collective monies that we have received and that serve as seed money for phase 1. Next steps, wrap up. We're wrapping up with completing the phase 1 activities. The students have a hybrid class schedule. The students have housing, and let me state, in terms of the downtown community of Shreveport, students will be housed in the Hilton with an extended contract, and we have two students who will be housed in apartments. The vicinity of the Hilton downtown provides the students close proximity to those regional opportunities that exist in our legal community. And then we will continue to phase 2 and phase 3 of the planning. If you have any additional questions or detailed questions, you can email me or email us at ocis@culc.edu. And I'm open for questions, and I want to thank you all for your support.
Any questions, colleagues? Any questions? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
And good luck. We're happy to have with us State Representative Ed Larberdane from the great city of Alexandria. We're happy to have you. We'll go now to item B, our medical marijuana update. Dr. McMeans, are you going to defer to Dr. Snowden, or?
Yes, I'll defer to Dr. Snowden, and she's going to be brief in her presentation.
Thank you.
See, I'm always getting rushed. Thank you, Dr. McMeans. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, newly elected officials, honorable members of the board, President Belton, and my colleagues and friends. When the SU Ag Center was given the opportunity, along with LSU, we were charged by the state legislature to lead production of quality medicine for the stakeholders of Louisiana. As the first HBCU selected to produce CBD and THC products in the nation, I'm proud to say that we now have over 15 products throughout the state in our 9 pharmacies. These products include tinctures, topicals, metered dose inhalers, and soon to enter the market on December the 6th, we'll be introducing our gelatin-based chewables. And in January of 2022, smokable flower will be available. The patient, wow. The patients have expressed their gratefulness that we are a part of this statewide program. We constantly receive testimonials, sometimes in person, that this medicine is changing lives for the better. So thank you all for your support as we continue to break barriers and provide access to proven medical benefits. To date, we've received $3.15 million as a result of this program, with another $1 million due January 1st. I would encourage you all to continue to visit the SU Ag Center's website for more updates as we progress in this program. But before closing, I would like to thank Dr. Chancellor McMeans and Vice Chancellor Toledo for believing in my work and my visions in directing this program, as well as Dr. Shonda Macias and our partners at Ilera Holistic Healthcare. I would also like to publicly thank Dr. Rainey Whitfield for his direct involvement in this program and helping to advance this program. So again, thank you all, and know that greater is coming. We are and will continue to be the standard. And at this time, I will take any questions.
Before I
Mr. Chairman.
recognize Mr. Fondale,
Then I'll recognize you next. He was
I
first.
just want to say I want to volunteer my service for the flower.
Okay.
You have to validate the product.
Yeah,
Yes.
you better get checked out by Dr. Whitfield first.
We have a waiting list.
Mr. Bartholomew, what's the status? When does our current contract end with Hilera? I believe it was a 4 or 5 year.
Yes, that contract is up for renewal in 2023.
2023. Okay, thank you, Mr. Fondale.
Wanted to thank Ms. Snowden for her presentation on the day. Also to Chancellor for the work that they've been doing over there. Years ago, we voted this product, we voted it in, and it's been helping a lot of folks in the state. And I'm encouraged by the words that you said and the people who have come up. And a lot of folks think of it as something else, but it is something definitely that is able to help, and the good doctor can say it also, help people in our state that need the help. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comment? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Pitts, our facilities and property update. And in your presentation, I'm sure you will, if you can sort of drill down just a little bit further regarding the mitigation efforts that are underway on those erosion issues to address Dr. Tarver's question. Thank you.
We'll do it. Good morning, Mr. Chair, newly elected Chair, Mr. President, Mr. Vice Chair. Senator Fields did such a fine job on the capital outlay request. I'm going to cut it short and jump directly to the ravine issue. It is happening right now. There were some issues that we ran into with the soil samples. They came back highly corrosive, and so that kind of pulled back on our drilling sheet piles down behind ROTC. So when he talked about a holistic approach, we're really addressing the drainage. And if I can just speak to the drainage just for 1 second, typically the drainage comes in 4 to 8 foot sheets of concrete. And because of the erosion, when the erosion happens, the full 8 foot piece of pipe fell off. And that exacerbated the erosion that we were seeing. So right now they're going to move to that HDP, high-density polyethylene pipe that you can fuse together, so it'll be a sloping pipe all the way down to the lowest point of the ravine. They're going to put in 2 weir systems, one right behind the Student Health Center and one closer out by ROTC. Now, I think that is exactly what you were talking about in your question. I would like to report, and Mr. Fondale, you asked me last board meeting about lighting. We did a lumen study, and you were absolutely right. Our current lighting puts out about 15,000 lumens when LEDs are putting out 18,000. So we can be fully lit, but 20% less light would be emitted on our students. So we put together a $4 million package in capital outlay that we want to push through. The Shreveport campus. We had $500,000 to do a roof on the gymnasium, and we were pushing that toward demolition of the gymnasium once the study came back. They wouldn't allow us to use that $500,000, and so we put that on the back of a $9 million request for a new gymnasium. Those letters went out to from FPNC to like the senators and representatives in the area that have to sign off on that. But that is one thing that we want to push in this legislative session, to get a new gymnasium for the Shreveport campus, and the demo is included in that package. So I want to address that. The drainage projects around the campus. Dr. Belton, I really appreciate what you did to get Mayor Broom and her team, and the Exxon executives. Robin Merrick, I think, pushed to help get those people at the table. I've been trying for a year to do this, but once you called the meeting, everybody attended. And right now, if you've looked right along the railroad tracks, they've already flagged it and started putting utility markers out to get that project underway. So I think with that, the last note on the Baton Rouge campus, the road, we have a lot of erosion issues right at that road that leads back to agriculture. And it's about 50% complete. You hadn't been seeing a lot of activity because they're waiting on some FEMA approvals to take place, and that hadn't taken place yet. So I know I had promised that that road would be back in service at the end of the year, and now it's looking like we're going to go yet another semester before we can get that road back in service. With that, do I have any questions?
Dr. Tarver.
I thought the purpose of the weir systems was to create a lake system on the Baton Rouge campus. Will that still be accomplished?
That will, well, Lake Kerning will be expanded because it is currently acting as that, but they're going to create 2 more lakes further out toward the Mississippi River, further out past ROTC.
Any other questions? Mrs. Smith?
The $780 million project that we have been presented today, is the erosion included in that, or is that separate? And what part would Exxon play in making that happen?
So the master plan, when they talked about the erosion mitigation on the Mississippi River part, so what Senator Fields was able to do very effectively was to have the ravine that runs through the campus covered by DOTD in the state. When it got out to the river, that's another thing with the Army Corps of Engineers. So with that, with the infrastructure plan, Corps was given $27 billion, and we're asking to mitigate our erosion issues on the bluff out of that pot of money. So as far as the master plan that you saw, it only addresses what's going on in the campus, and DOTD is addressing that like currently.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Pitts.
Yes, sir.
And I apologize. I know Judge Tarble Smith was here earlier, and I wanted to recognize him. We'll go now to item E, our President's Report. Dr. Belton. You got to press your button.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'd like to preface my comments by, again, congratulating the chair-elect and vice chair-elect. And of course, we really look forward to working with you in your respective roles. This clearly is a season for Thanksgiving, and I'd like to just take it upon myself to thank this board, for your diligence and your support. We have really benefited from such. We have not only this board, but this university community. I saw earlier this evening the faculty senate president was in our midst, Dr. Devon, and we have enjoyed a very collaborative relationship such that we can move the agenda of the Southern University Baton Rouge campus forward. Amongst us are many alums. I'm reminded, I spoke with him earlier today, Mr. Kevin Mills, who's with us this morning, who is poised to provide a check to the athletic department tomorrow at the game. Kevin, could you just raise your hand and be acknowledged, if you will? But I'm really, thankful to all of you for what you have done to really embrace, our goals and objectives in the degree to which you have been an integral part of what we believe to be progress that is apparent and evident. I think on last evening, I was confronted by several people who said, this is your last Bayou Classic. And I said, well, hopefully not. I said, my last. I said, in this role, but I hope to be back. I hope to be back at the Bayou Classic soon. But clearly, This is a milestone for me, and I just want to again express my genuine support for those who I have witnessed who bring such exceptional talent to their roles and a level of dedication and commitment while doing so. So thank you very much just for the opportunity. And again, I'm looking forward to a great game on tomorrow, one to which I'm very optimistic about.
Hopefully
Thank you
more
very much.
optimistic than last night. I skipped the interim financial report. Mr. McClinton, I apologize. We need to go back to item D, interim financial reports. Mr. McClinton.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Chairman, Chairman-elect, members of the board, and Mr. President. The interim financial reports were provided in your packet, and I have reviewed the reports that were submitted by the CFOs for each campus, and each campus is projecting that their budget, general operating budget, as of the end of the fiscal year should be balanced. In addition to that, if there are any changes or any adjustments that need to be made, we will address those adjustments at that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. McClinton? Mr. Lawson.
And that includes the New Orleans campus?
Yes, sir.
Looking at the trend in the FTEs with it, I don't know if we used in our forecasting proposed FTE that would be in line with what the end result will be.
Right. For the New Orleans campus, they have actually, even though they may have a shortfall in revenue, they've made the appropriate adjustments in expenditures to make sure that their budget is balanced at the end of the year.
You done? Okay. All right. No, the floor is yours if you have. We're just up against the.
One quick one. These balances, and I want to make sure that we realize that we certainly enjoyed the COVID money, but many of these balances were assisted by COVID money, am I correct?
You're correct, sir, and I have explained that to each campus and to emphasize to them that the money, once the COVID money is over, that we have to make certain as we go through this process that we are not relying on COVID funds to balance our general operating budget, but we must use the COVID money for one-time expenditures.
I would just like to see, as my last question, what would the budget had been, where would the deficit spending have been, what would it have been had we not had the COVID money?
Okay, based on the COVID funds we have, I've asked each campus to provide me with the number of dollars included in their budget, general operating budget. And the Baton Rouge campus had approximately $2.6 million. The New Orleans campus had roughly $500,000, and the Shreveport campus had about $600,000. But they are actually working on it now, and in many cases what they're doing is really trimming their regular operating expenditures. But we are emphasizing the importance of making certain that once we come out of this, that each campus understand that we still must come in with a balanced budget. But we are looking at those items as we speak.
Okay, did that conclude your, Mr. Gillum?
Please, may I please ask you, Ms. McClinton, might you please, your office, give, especially Dr. Tarver, who chairs the Finance Committee, let's say an in-depth, detailed report on how that's transpiring. The point I'm getting to is we're sitting and looking at the interim report for at least the Shreveport and the New Orleans campus, and from looking at it, it appears as though it's not trending in the direction that we would want it to trend. We just want to make sure that we do not replicate the situation that we experienced in New Orleans a few years ago, sir.
Yes, sir, I agree, and that's why we are looking at it and emphasizing the fact that we must not rely on COVID dollars. But I think when Dr. Peenan provided his report, he basically showed, I know for the Baton Rouge campus, that the enrollment is trending up, and I'm certain that the New Orleans and the Shreveport campus are doing likewise. But I speak with the financial officers all the time about this, so they are fully aware of what we need to do.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Mr. McClendon. We'll go now to item F, our chancellor's reports. We'll begin with Dr. Ammons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the board, President Belton and colleagues, first, Chairman Rutledge, I want to thank you for your 3 years of effective leadership to this board.
Thank you.
We have certainly benefited from your commitment to this system, and we just appreciate your leadership. I look forward to working with Chair Shorty and Vice Chair Whitfield. We have an exciting future ahead of us in the Southern University system, as we have seen by the master plan concept that was presented today. I am really excited because as I look at the master plan, I see, although those were conceptual drawings, what I see is a plan that will allow us to continue to attract top talent, top scholars to this university system. And also, it will give us an ability to create an environment that will undergird competitive academic programs and lead Southern University and A&M College to be that research university that it deserves to be. I also want to thank the board this morning for some actions that directly impact the SUNO campus. One, you approved the appointment of our first nursing faculty this morning, and I just want to thank you all for doing that. And then, as you know, Mr. Gillum, you talk about our financial situation, and Mr. Lawson, we're on our way now to bringing athletics back. You approved our head men's basketball coach and athletic director this morning. These two actions are going to catapult SUNO back to where we all want it to be. And so I just want to thank the board this morning for those important actions. Also, on the campus, we just finished a few weeks ago our homecoming activities where we celebrated the coronation of the 62nd Miss SUNO. But there was something also special about this year. Miss SUNO, Jessica Thomas, our SGA president, Ms. Amber Fouché, and our vice president for Student Government Association, Mr. Ronnie Dyer, all biology majors, Dr. Whitfield, headed to medical school. I've been in higher ed a long time. I've never had 3 top leaders headed to medical school. And these are 3 outstanding young people who are going to leave their mark on the world. Also, too, we had a presentation made a few months ago where we had a company come in and talk about esports and how esports are being adopted across the higher ed community. Well, we went right to work, and under the leadership of Dr. Adrielle Hilton, our Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, we put together an esports varsity team. And right now, one of our students, Alfred Richardson, is ranked #1 in Madden 21 Xbox. #1. And as a matter of fact, 4 of our players are currently ranked in the top 5 in the nation at SUNO. And I want to thank Dr. Hilton for his leadership in going back and getting that together. We also have one other important announcement. One of our political science professors, Mr. Bartholomew, and you probably know him, Dr. George Amity, He has been selected to receive the NAACP President's Trailblazer Award. Dr. Amity is a professor of political science, and he also serves as vice president of the Conference of Minority Public Administrators. And then lastly, just last week, here in this building, I was here while we were attending another event, but we held our first Lyceum series program for the year. And we had two of the nation's top mayors speaking for our Lyceum series, our own, the Honorable LaToya Cantrell, mayor of the city of New Orleans and who was just recently reelected, and also the Honorable Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome of Baton Rouge. They presented on conflicts, issues, challenges, and opportunities for urban centers across America. And they kicked off our Lyceum series, and it was an exciting and really enlightening discussion. So, Mr. Chair, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons. Dr. Penning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me say I join Dr. Ammons, also Chairman Rutledge, for saying thank you so much for your leadership over the last 3 years over this board, working as a team. As an alum, my heart beats with pride every time I watch this board and the leadership you've shown. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
To Chairman-elect Edwin Shorty, I absolutely look forward to working with you, sir, and thank you for your leadership as you come on board and you've served as our vice chair. My 3 weeks have been very informative and productive, and I want to especially, and I don't want to break any protocols, but I have to thank my two board members from Shreveport, the Honorable Mr. Sam Gilliam. Sir, thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your counsel. Thank you for the meetings, the conversations you've had. I take every one of them to heart, and thank you for just your guidance and your friendship. I appreciate that. And the same I have to say for the Honorable Mr. Richard Hilliard. Doc, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you very kindly. I'll be remiss if I don't acknowledge one more individual. Again, I don't want to break protocol, but Dr. Leon Tarver. Dr. Tarver, a board member, chairman, president, all of that. But I first knew of Dr. Tarver when he was my teacher and my professor in public administration. That was my first interaction with Dr. Tarver. And Dr. Tarver, thank you for all of your guidance. Thank you for the lessons learned and the case study approach. Deeply appreciated. President Chancellor Dr. Belton, Doc, thank you so much for the trust you've shown in me, both in my role as vice president, this, that, and other, but in allowing me to function and work with my colleagues. Thank you very kindly, sir, and thank you for the trust you've placed in this very specific interim assignment that I have. I want to thank the family, my Shreveport family, and that includes, and they're here today. And in fact, would the Shreveport family please stand? And Doc, it's not often you see in 3 weeks. I have my Faculty Senate President, Professor Fred Moss, my Faculty Senate Vice President, Professor Daphne Tebow, Senate President, Ms. Sandra Bigham, my Senate Vice President, Lieutenant Ivy, and of course the stars of Shreveport, our students, our SGA President, Jaquan Davey, Ms. Makisha McGee, and Ms. Sussler Jennifer Pickens. We've spent town hall meetings in my last 3 weeks, individual meetings. They've been a source of wealth and guidance for me, and that's projecting us forward. And so the biggest piece right now with Sussler is we are preparing to be back spring 2022 in person, 100% in person, for teaching and learning to go on. And so with that, there's a short video. Clorith, would you please run that for me? And upon conclusion of the video, Mr. Chairman, I promise it's less than 2 minutes. That will conclude my remarks.
efforts to keep our campus community safe amid COVID-19, there are some new protocols in place and all students must comply.
Learning is better face-to-face, and we understand that we have a very diverse student body. The choices will be honored as students comply with these important protocols.
There are 3 ways to be compliant for spring 2022.
It's easy. Just upload your proof of COVID-19 vaccination.
Submit a request for medical or religious exemption.
Submit a letter of assent, which is a basic statement on why you do not want to receive the COVID-19 vaccination.
Please keep in mind, if you're exempt from uploading your shot records, you still need to get tested once a week.
Here's some very important dates to remember.
Hello, Jaguars. The deadline to submit an exemption or dissent is Friday, December the 3rd, 2021. Don't forget.
The deadline to submit proof of vaccination is Wednesday, December the 8th, 2021.
For more information on how to upload documents as well as some frequently asked questions, go to sus.edu/vaccine. Also, keep an eye on your SUS and SUSLA email for other updates.
School is back in session at Southern University at Shreveport, and we cannot wait to see you in person, faculty, staff, and students. Spring 2022, now let's go Jags, and let's make this happen.
Thank you. Mr. Chancellor McNeil.
Chairman, and I also echo the sentiments of my colleagues, and also I look forward to working with Chairman Shorty. But I would like to say something about Chairman Rutledge. I introduced him to one of my colleagues, and I said he is the epitome of Robert's Rules of Order. So if you want to understand that, he is one of those individuals that I look forward to hearing as relates to running a meeting. So I have 2 announcements. The first of which is that as a result of our relationship with some of the wine industry, we are elevating our viticulture and enology program at the Ag Center. To that fact, we will be hiring an enologist who is a scientist related to winemaking. And when I talked to my colleagues at FAMU, one of my old professors who's the dean of Ag, that he said, you're dealing in weed and now you're dealing in wine. And so I told him, I said I don't appreciate that, but I said, this weekend we are entertaining Matador vodka, so that'll give you an idea of where we're heading. But to be quite candid, it is an area that our students should be involved in, and working with Chancellor Pierre. We're also working with the Ag Center and Law Center with the largest spirit company in the world, and so we're just trying to make sure that our students have the benefit of that particular industry. The last but not least, the Build Back Better legislation act. I think Southern is probably going to be one of the universities that benefit the most from this legislation. There were 3 components that I want to talk about. First of all, we got $40 million for the 1890 institutions, and so those dollars will be used to support some of our minorities serving areas, especially rural areas and things of that nature. So my Vice Chancellor, Dr. Sean York, is going to make sure that money is going to be used well to support our stakeholders and constituents of Southern University. The other area is, and this is very powerful, and I know my Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs and Student Support, but we will receive $100 million for the 1890 scholarship in perpetuity. That means that is a permanent legislation. We don't have to go through the whole act of getting it. So that's a game changer for recruiting these individuals who go into agriculture, and I think that's very important. But the last thing, I never give myself credit, but prior to coming to Southern University, I drafted some language as it relates to research infrastructure for HBCUs. I'm proud to say that that language turned into reality. We're receiving the 1890s and other minority-serving land-grant institutions $1 billion for research infrastructure. And that means that, well, it's over 5 years or 10 years, we will be receiving that money to enhance our research infrastructure and in the form of facility enhancement. So I'm excited about that. Thank you, Dr. Belton, for your support when that legislation was going through, and I think that's going to be a game changer for not only Southern University, but for the entire 1890 system. So thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Chancellor McMeans. Chancellor Pierre.
Yes, Chancellor Rutledge, again, I want to thank you for your leadership as board chair.
Chancellor, I don't know if I got a promotion or I understand what you mean. Thank you. I appreciate the acknowledgement.
And Mr. Shorty, look forward to working with you and Dr. Whitfield. The Law Center's only thing I wanted to add in terms of our report is I wanted to thank the board again for all that it does to help us move forward. I want to thank the Cattle Parish Commission and the Sussler family for hosting us last week in Shreveport as we made presentations to them. And there's a very important vote on December 1st for the Cattle Parish Commission. Hopefully they will approve us getting $700,000 in funding for IT upgrades for the Shreveport Memorial Library. I want to thank you for acknowledging the accomplishment of Marcus Jones as the new president of Northwestern State University, a Southern University Law Center alum, and President Biden last week also nominated 2 Southern University Law Center alums to be U.S. attorneys for both the Middle District and the Western District of Louisiana, which is quite an accomplishment when you think about that kind of opportunity. So again, thank everybody. I hope everybody had a great holiday, Thanksgiving holiday, and I think the Jaguars are going to do great things tomorrow.
Absolutely. That concludes our report. Did Calvin Mills leave? Did Mr. Mills leave? He did. So, Dr. Sahu. Sorry. That does not include, I apologize.
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for your care and concern and for your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman-elect, Vice Chairman-elect, and my President, Chancellor, Dr. Belton. Thank you for your service also, sir. I just, I would really like for you all to recognize the College of Nursing, which was elected by the Nurses Foundation. It's rare to get this commendation from your peers as the Nursing School of the Year. And also, Dean Sandra Brown received the D. Jensen Holiday Memorial Award for her dedication to the cure of cancer and the allied services that goes along with. So commendation to Dean Sandra Brown for her service also. I want to highlight the package in your, the report is in your package, but highlight the Nelson Mandela College for the establishment of the Jewel Prestige Polling Center that I think will enhance, public participation and for us to enhance the conversation about how we contribute to the state. I also would like to inform that during the summer and fall semester, only in the Department of Computer Science, we recruited more than 80 international students. We are on our way to enhance our global footprint. And so Dr. Belton, in his role as President Chancellor, hosted the first inaugural luncheon in honor of the international students, and that has really enhanced the motivation and the satisfaction of the international students. I just would like to depart a little bit from this and say that these are exciting times for Southern University system and Southern University Baton Rouge. When I hear about the $780 million footprint or the infrastructure enhancement proposal, when the country is thinking in terms of trillions of dollars, And we are talking about $760 million. That's not much. And I think this is the time that we also leverage the talent and the commitment that we have here and make a representation to the federal government to provide the support that we need when we're talking about Black Lives Matters. We're talking about systematic inequities, and the things that will really help Louisiana is to have most of that money for infrastructure provided via a federal grant, so that the rest of the money could be dedicated towards enhancing the labs. In January, you will hear a presentation how we will become a Research 1 in Research 2 Carnegie Classified University. This Friday, I got all the PhD faculty, and they have unanimous endorsement on our path to become a Carnegie Classified Research University. Mr. Chairman, I want to end by saying none of this will happen without student success. What you saw going from 60 to 66% in terms of retention was not, happen chance. It was, I want to give credit to our president in terms of establishing the university college. But all we are doing when we enhance student success in terms of retention, persistence, and graduation, we don't have to take billboards to tell our story. Our students and our alumni will recruit for us. And I think that's the best thing to do. And the last thing I want us to emphasize is the commitment and the resilience and the care and concern of the faculty who contribute to the student success. I think we should make a commitment to meet and exceed SREB median so that we'll be able to recruit, retain, and develop the faculty we need. And I think if we can get the federal dollars and we take the other dollars to enhance faculty compensation, the labs, and commitment to student success, that will make us one of the best, the only and the first and only system that everybody will be proud of. Thank you for the opportunity, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sahu, and to each of our chancellors and Dr. Belton for your tireless efforts and the efforts of your team. We certainly appreciate it. We'll go now to item 14. Is there any other business? Any other business? Hearing none?
Real briefly, I just think we should, it'd be remiss if we didn't acknowledge the athletic department, enrollment banks for probation. He left already, so.
Yeah, and I asked him if he wanted to have a word, but he said no, because he needed to get to the coaches' luncheon. And so we certainly thank you, Dr. Whitfield, for reminding us that the Department of Athletics on the Baton Rouge campus is in full compliance now. We certainly appreciate that. Mr. Warren, does the alumni have a hospitality suite here in the hotel this weekend? And where is it located? Okay, thank you. Thank you, and thank all of our alums who are here, and Jack and the rest of you all who come to our meetings so regularly. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been moved by Dr. Talbot to adjourn. We stand adjourned. Go, Jack.